Welcome into another edition of the Giant Overreaction, y'all. The New York Giants actually get a W yesterday against the Indianapolis Colts, and it absolutely feels like we are in something in the likes of the Twilight Zone. It's the same movie, though, except it's starring your boy Drew Lock. Last year, in 2023, it was starring Tommy DeVito. I was starting to get extremely comfortable with the number one overall selection. I'm watching these bowl games with Shedeur Sanders. I'm watching these bowl games with Cam Ward. I'm like, which guy should we go after this year? Thinking that we had the number one selection all but locked up, and that's on me. I definitely messed that one up because it seems like what can go wrong with the New York Giants will go wrong. I'm going to start the show off with a bit of a lukewarm take. I won't call it a hot take, but Joe Schoen should absolutely be fired, but he won't. We saw him go from jet to go see Cam Ward play, to then go to see Shedeur Sanders play. And in my eyes, I think that Joe Schoen will likely be back as the New York Giants general manager. But we cannot forget, this is the same dude that put all his eggs into the Daniel Jones basket. He said this is the year for Daniel and abandoned that plan after just 10 games. He said we need to find out, and I thought this was the craziest shit I might have heard on the entire Hard Knocks series. We need to find out if Daniel Jones is the quarterback for the next 10 years or not. You look at the drafts, you look at the free agents, you look at the Saquon situation, you look at the Xavier McKinney situation, and it's all been bad for the New York Giants. It seems like every move, every option that we had in the offseason to go left or go right or go against the grain or go with the grain, we've gone the wrong direction. And after yesterday's loss, things really got to settle in for me. You know, watching that game, I'm like, man, this is the most emotionally invested I've been in the New York Giants football game all year long. And it's not because I want my team to win. It is because I want my team to lose. I was literally out there rooting for Joe Flacco. Like, I truly couldn't believe it. And there was a moment during the game where I almost had to check myself, like, man, you are literally getting angry because you want your team to lose that bad. I tweeted out yesterday that throughout all my childhood, we looked at the Cleveland Browns, and no shade to my homie Dwayne, who actually just hit me up, who is a Cleveland Browns fan. But we looked at the Cleveland Browns when I was a kid as a situation that no franchise could possibly be in. The only other comparison that I could have to that would be the Tampa Bay, the orange creamsicle Tampa Bay Buccaneers from the 80s, right? I never thought in a million years that I would be rooting for the Browns to win a game so that my New York Giants could have a better draft selection than them. We talk about rock bottom. We talked about rock bottom where when you pull the rock up and there's all those worms up underneath that's where the New York Giants and the fan base are right now. But I think we are actually beneath the surface right now. Shout out to Jizza. Because I don't know how we are going to be able to climb up out of the dirt and see the light of the day ever again. Right now, we are in a situation, you see the statement on the screen, where I'm pretty sure that we lost our chances in drafting one of these top two quarterbacks. And I think it'll be a miracle if any of these quarterbacks end up falling to us. A lot of that obviously has to do with the game yesterday to the Colts, where the New York Giants just came out and played a game that was so unlike the New York Giants team that we have seen this year. And it was really amazing, to be honest. It was a great game by the team, I will say that, especially offensively. Defensively, they had some things to clean up. But offensively, it was a great performance. And it was one of those performances, if you watch the preview show, we talked about it, that one of these days, Drew Lock is going to come out here and show one of those moxie performances that we saw from him when he played with the Seattle Seahawks and he had that comeback victory against the Philadelphia Eagles. We knew it was going to happen, and we just hoped and we prayed that the season was going to run out of time before that happened, before we got to see a game like that from Drew Lock. But yesterday, our nightmares came true. But let's get off into it. I want to talk about this game for just a few moments, maybe a good 20, 30 minutes, and then get off into a couple of giant overreactions. I got 3 of them on the day. But let's talk about it. The Indianapolis Colts, with everything on the line for them as far as playoffs go, traveled to MetLife to take on the New York Giants.
Giants are on the board with 11:16 to go here in the third.
All right, so the New York Giants came into this one, had lost 10 straight games, a franchise record. They had 0 wins at home. They were 0-8 at MetLife Stadium on the season, and were headed for the number 1 pick in the 2025 NFL Draft. The Colts came in 6-1 versus opponents under 500 and just one win over teams with a record over 500. And the Colts just needed a victory to keep their playoff hopes alive, to go into next week, hope that the Broncos would lose their game, and the Colts were going to be going up against the Kansas City Chiefs, I believe it was. The Giants decided that, they just wanted to score a lot of points. I don't understand where this came from, because this New York Giants team has been terrible as far as scoring points throughout the whole entire year. Even moving the ball, they were 32nd in total yardage, 32nd in scoring, averaging just 14.3 points per game, 10.6 points per game at home. The Giants had just 10 passing touchdowns on the season coming into this game as a team, 8 of them coming from Daniel Jones. And the Giants decide they want to score over 30 points for the first time in 31 games. They scored 45 points yesterday in a game where the Colts were favored by 7. The New York Giants end up winning the game 45-33. And in all my nightmares of this season, if any of that would have came true, granted, maybe the New York Giants could go out here and win this game against the Colts. I never thought that it would have happened with the New York Giants scoring 45 points. And I think they said that the last time that had happened was, I want to say 2015 or maybe 2005. It's been a long time since the New York Giants have scored that amount of points. Now, there were some positives as far as the play on the field from some of the players. Malik Neighbors went over 1,000 yards receiving and over 100 yards, over 100 receptions on the season as well. Tyrone Tracy went over 1,000 yards from scrimmage. They're the second rookie duo to do that since 1970, the third rookie duo to ever do that. And I'm looking at it, and yeah, this is great. 2 rookies come out here, and they played pretty well this year. But on the opposite end of the spectrum, Saquon Barkley has 2,000 yards rushing on the season. So I can't help but just feel some type of way about that something is not quite adding up. Defensively, we had 2 interceptions on Joe Flacco. Dane Belton made an incredible interception on the first drive, which really set the tone for the New York Giants, because the Colts were able to walk down the field all day long on us. And to have them get in the red zone or close to the red zone at that point in time and have Dane Belton come away with the interception, it was a big play for the New York Giants, which I really feel like changed the fate for the Colts throughout the day. Andrew Phillips had his first interception of the year. That one came on the last drive of the day. We also returned a kickoff 100 yards, first time since 2015. Dwayne Harris, the last guy being able to do that. What's my guy's name? Amir Smith-Marset is the guy who took it back 100 yards. And Drew Lock played a fantastic game. I mean, I knew Drew Lock had it in him to be able to go out there and put together some serviceable football, but I never thought in a million years that Drew Lock was going to come out here and put up this particular stat line that he put up in this game against the Colts, where he scored 4 touchdowns on the day. That's just through the air. He added another touchdown on the ground late in this game. So you're talking 5 total touchdowns from Drew Lock, a passer rating that is damn near perfect of 155.3. He was 17 of 23. Brian Dable put him in position to not even truly have to throw the ball down the field that much. But when he did throw the ball down the field, he was effective. But the majority of this game plan was short passes from Drew Lock, get the ball out of his hands quickly and allow his receivers to make the plays necessary to go out there and get in the end zone and help the New York Giants win this game. This was some shit out of a movie, I swear to God. And this movie would be something like Rookie of the Year, or possibly like an Angels in the outfield type of vibe, because Drew Lock was playing some godly-like football out there. The Colts had forced 6 turnovers in their last 2 games, and Drew Lock had 3 turnovers in his last game against the Atlanta Falcons. 2 pick sixes and a fumble that was recovered by the Falcons. He had 0 turnovers on the day yesterday. In the first half, he was 7 of 8 for 153 yards, 3 touchdowns. He had a perfect passer rating in the first half. He was averaging 19.1 yards per attempt in the first half and finished the day great. I can't give more props to Drew Lock. He played a fantastic game. I got a homie, I can't remember his Twitter handle off the top of my head right now, but he's always bigging up Drew Lock. And these are some of the things that he was talking about Drew Lock was capable of doing. And I understood it. Drew Lock is a guy that possesses some of that moxie, some of that it factor, has a big arm, not the most accurate quarterback. But the thing about playing quarterback or anything that relies upon accuracy, some days you just feeling it. And I think that Drew Lock went out here on this day and he was absolutely just feeling himself. I mean, the swag was on 1,000. I'm sure he was playing some Young Jeezy during the warm-ups. But Drew Lock went out there and he handled business. And, I've come up here before and I've blamed Tommy DeVito and the 3-game winning streak last year on the reason why the New York Giants didn't get their quarterback. This particular time is Drew Lock, and I can't sit up here and blame these guys. Their job is to go out there and put out the best product they can on the football field. These guys NFL livelihood is on the line. So I do understand where they're coming from. Darius Slayton even talked about it. Like, listen, we have a job to go out here and handle. We can't go out here and just tank games. That's just not like us. We're professionals, and we got to go out there and handle business accordingly. So when it comes to the tank job that obviously all the New York Giants fans across the entire universe wanted to happen in this game, this is something that needed to come from the top down. You saw the Philadelphia Eagles do it in 2020 against the Washington Commanders in the last game of the season that literally helped the New York Giants not make their way into the playoffs. And thank God we didn't make our way into the playoffs that year. We were a 6-win team. And if the Washington Commanders would have lost that game, we had the tiebreaker on them, and we would have been the division winner that would have went on to go play the Tampa Bay Buccaneers that year. But you look at the way that the Philadelphia Eagles did their tank job that year. They knew the season was over. There was no point in playing their future franchise quarterback in Jalen Hurts, so they wheeled out Nate Sudfeld in the fourth quarter and ended up losing that game to the Washington Commanders. For all the three teams that were involved in that situation, all four teams actually in the NFC East, because the New York Giants' last win of the season in 2020 came against the Dallas Cowboys, and the other two teams in the division were playing each other. But for all teams in the division that year, I think that we realized that that was not only a meaningless game, but getting to the playoffs does give you that opportunity. But none of the teams were really cut out to be a team that was going to go on and win a playoff game that year anyway. A lot of Drew Lock's success yesterday was predicated on the shoulders of Malik Nabers, and I think that these are the type of performances that Joe Schoen envisioned when he drafted Malik Nabers with the 6th overall selection in the 2024 draft. It's very easy to notice that Malik Nabers is going to be a superstar in this league, if not already one. And what I wanted to bring to y'all attention today is, do you see how easy it is to assess Malik Nabers as a true playmaker, a true talent, a true guy that's going to be at the top of his position for years to come around the poor surroundings around him on the New York Giants? Notice that it has only taken us 1 year to do that. I don't understand why a lot of people couldn't do that with Daniel Jones, but we won't harp on that. Malik Nabers finished the day with 177 yards, I believe it was. It might be 171. I'm not sure if the graphic is correct or if my notes are correct on this one, but nonetheless, he finished with over 170 yards on the day. Malik Nabers has 30% of his team's receptions, which is first in the NFL. He's got 10 double-digit target games this year, which is the most in the NFL. 154 targets on the year. You add the targets from this game, he's got the most in the NFL. Malik Nabers is the only wide receiver in the top 25. We talked about this on the last preview show that has under 11 yards per reception. He's the only receiver on the list. 104 receptions on the season is fantastic. I really wanted him to break that Kadarius Toney record, too, because Kadarius Toney owns the single-game record for most receiving yards by a New York Giant, which is 189, and Malik Nabers was damn close to this one. But I think that, with the success of Malik Nabers, Drew Lock, Darius Slayton had a really good game. Wan'Dale Robinson had a really good game. The passing game was really clicking in this matchup against the Colts. I still think that the Colts really helped out the New York Giants in this game. And offensively, obviously, the turnovers, everything on the line for the Colts again. And the Colts allowed the New York Giants to go out here and put up 309 passing yards and 4 touchdowns through the air. Just poor tackling from the Indianapolis Colts all day long. I remember a play on a third down before Malik Nabers scored where Zaire Franklin got up and he was like screaming, and you could hear it over the broadcast. He was saying, "I'm a fucking savage. I'm a fucking savage." And then on the next play, on the next third down, he ends up allowing Wan'Dale Robinson to run a little route right in front of him. He doesn't make the play. And I'm like, bro, you're not a savage. You need to pipe down and relax here. The Giants were 7 of 13 on third down, which is one of their better third down performances of the year. And the Colts, we knew they were going to commit to the running game. They were going to commit to Jonathan Taylor, and they did do that. He had 18 attempts in the first half, 56 yards. He was averaging 3.1 yards per carry, which is a decent job considering the way the New York Giants have defended against the run this year. Jonathan Taylor finished with 32 carries for 125 yards and 2 touchdowns. He had a lot of mistakes on the day as well. Joe Flacco threw for 330 yards and 2 touchdowns, but he had the 2 interceptions as well. So the mistakes end up being very costly for the Indianapolis Colts. It seemed like when they needed the big play, the big explosive play in this game, they were very able to do that. It almost came easy for them. You had Alec Pierce coming down with big play after big play in this game. He ended up with over 100 yards in this one. Michael Pittman Jr. also ended up with over 100 yards in this one. Both of those wide receivers had a touchdown. But like I said, the mistakes were just too much. The kickoff return by Smith Marset, the 2 picks by Joe Flacco, the 2-point conversion with Jonathan Taylor on the hook and ladder play where he just can't come up with it. He takes his eyes off the ball and ends up dropping it. All those things, those look like a team that is not prepared to go into the playoffs, whether you're going to be backing in, scratching in, clawing in, crawling in, whatever it may be. All of those things are not the way that you handle business. And the Colts, I saw that Pat McAfee put out a letter pretty much to the Colts and their fan base today, that this has been the reoccurring theme for them all too often with the playoffs on the line. You know, you go out there and you have a game where you can keep your playoff hope alive and you don't look ready. This dates all the way back, probably even before this, but when they had Carson Wentz out there going up against, I believe, the Jacksonville Jaguars for the last game of the season, where they fell short in that game as well. And Carson Wentz was a guy that put up 27 touchdowns and 7 interceptions that year and had a pretty good year. But the Colts, they're dealing with a similar type of thing in the twilight zone like the New York Giants are, except they're a team that is in the purgatory that we are not in. We are just a bad organization. The Colts are a bad organization, but they still find ways to win some games and always tend to be in the mix. Pat McAfee pointed to their quarterback, their franchise quarterback, the future face in Anthony Richardson, quitting and saying that he was tired and had to take himself out the game. And that does not speak towards the quarterback. That speaks volumes towards the organization. There are a lot of parallels with these two organizations, but it just seems the Colts are just having a little bit better of results. We talked about the New York Giants and their rushing attack coming into this game against the Colts and how the New York Giants over the past 3 weeks have had one of the worst rushing attacks in the NFL. And it was one of my concerns coming into this game. I don't just bring up data on the best division in football or the Giant overreaction or on Bleacher Report, on any of the shows that we do for just any old reason. Because to me, data can help us understand where we are going. Understanding where we came from in the past, whether it be the near past or the recent past, as it was in this particular case when I brought up these statistics about Tyrone Tracy, or if you dig back into the deep past, right? The Giants haven't won more than 6 games in 7 out of the last 8 seasons. But when we're speaking on the rushing attack that the New York Giants have, or the lack thereof that they have had, Brian Daboll has not been able to get the running game going, and I'm surprised that it was as easy as it was for the Giants to move the ball up and down the field without a true rushing attack. I talked about Tyrone Tracy and his last 5 games, where he has 0 performances over 50 yards in the last 5 games entering this game against the Colts, and how people talked about the boxes being stacked and all that. And a lot of people just like to say shit without looking at the data, because Tyrone Tracy has only seen a stacked box 18% of the time. That's 31st in the NFL. He's a starting running back, okay? Tracy still came into this game averaging 4.6 yards per carry. But on this game in particular, he had 8 carries for 47 yards in the first half. They gave him about the same amount of carries in the second half. He ended the day with 17 rushes for 54 yards and a long of 40 yards. Now, some people came to take to Twitter and dig into my mentions about see Tyrone Tracy this, see Tyrone Tracy that, when he broke the 40-yard run. After breaking that 40-yard run, Tyrone Tracy had 16 carries for 14 yards. You can't make this up. And this is not to say that Tyrone Tracy is a bad running back or he's a bust of a draft pick. It's just, for me, I'm going to pump the brakes. I talked about this on Bleacher Report yesterday. I cannot deem Tyrone Tracy a draft hit after 1 season, let alone any player. I'm even struggling to do that with Malik Neighbors, but I understand that seeing him and the evaluation through 1 year already proves that everything that he could do in college, he is doing in the pros. But with Tyrone Tracy, I'm seeing a guy that in the first 10 games with Daniel Jones, the numbers were extremely different. Having that running quarterback in the mix, being able to run read option and do those different type of things obviously helps out the running game. It helped out Devin Singletary as well. And Tyrone Tracy was not seeing contact before 4 yards in the first 10 games. And now, as of late, he's not seeing contact after 2.7 yards. And I'm sure that number is going to go down with the last 2 performances over the last 2 weeks. So I'm not here to just throw shade on Tyrone Tracy. One, this is to point at Brian Daboll a little bit as well, because the running game plan in the second half of games has just not been there. And even in this game, where it was a close game throughout, it was a 1-score game through a good portion of that second half, we still were neglecting the running game. And I understand it wasn't working, but you have to RTDB. It's one of the philosophies that me and the Beard actually abide by on this channel. 16 rushes for 14 yards, that's not going to get it done. And that yards per carry has been the theme for Tyrone Tracy over the past 6 weeks. I give him his props on the 40-yard run. It was a big run. He's also helped out in the passing attack just a little bit over the past couple of weeks. But I don't know if this guy is a true running back 1 across the league. Right now for the New York Giants, obviously with Devin Singletary in the backfield and Eric Gray, who has been on the back of a milk carton, it's obvious that Tyrone Tracy is the running back one going into next year. And I do think that they're going to bring back Devin Singletary for another season. He's under contract, and I don't think they have many options. They can't spend draft capital on a running back again. I don't foresee that happening. So if Joe Shane is the general manager going into 2025, I do expect Tyrone Tracy and Devin Singletary to be the two guys that will lead this running back by committee for the New York Giants. Now, let's get off into talking about a little bit of draft stock here because, in my opinion, the New York Giants absolutely ruined their chances at getting the quarterback that I hoped that they wanted. I don't know if they wanted. I mean, this is the New York Giants. There is the likelihood of them doing the opposite of what most fans consider the most logical approach. But the Giants came in with the number 1 overall selection in the draft. They were the only 2-win team in the entire NFL. They have not had the number 1 pick since 1965. They've only had the number 1 pick 2 times in the history of the New York Giants franchise. Yesterday, the Browns, the Jags, and the Titans all lost their games. Now, the New York Giants fell all the way from the number 1 overall selection all the way to the 4th selection. And there's just one game left. You talk about the worst. I'm talking about the shittiest of shitty timing that this victory could have came. This is the worst that it could have been. You know, I mean, outside of maybe the last week of the season, possibly. But I just don't understand how the New York Giants went out there for 10 straight games, played some of the most pathetic football I've ever seen in my entire life. I can't remember a 10-game losing streak for any franchise. I know it's happened in the history of the league, obviously with 2 teams, going winless throughout the season. But just off the top of my head, it's like when you think about a 10-game losing streak and how that occurs for an NFL franchise, we're talking about the upper echelon of the cream of the crop when it comes to professional sports in the NFL, where every game matters. They always use the term any given Sunday, and I understand that they won against the Colts here on any given Sunday, but how come that couldn't happen in the first 10 weeks? I'll never be able to understand. But this is, I don't expect the players to tank, but I do expect the organization after a 10-game losing streak to figure out a way to not go out here and win a game. And I know that sounds a bit egregious, right? But the New York Giants were absolutely in a position to get their quarterback, and now they completely ruined that. They completely ruined that. And we gotta cross our fingers and go get 4-leaf clovers and do whatever kind of juju and whatever kind of magic we can to pray to God that 3 teams lose in the final week of the 2024 season for the New York Giants to bolster up their pick. The only option I'm looking at right now is I'm praying to God that somehow, some way, the NFL finds a way to devalue this draft class, like how they did last season entering this year, right? Everyone said that the 2025 quarterback class was going to be, nothing in comparison to 2024. So I'm hoping that there's a way that they can devalue this draft class and the Giants can get the quarterback that I deem as the quarterback one. It's not looking like it right now, but I know New York Giants fans are feeling some kind of way after that excellent, disgraceful performance that we saw yesterday by Drew Lock and that offense. I thought the Giants defense was doing a pretty good job of trying to, execute the tank, but the offense obviously definitely did not do their part. And I know Giants fans across the country are feeling a terrible way right now. I see Pietro Gambino's in the building. He says, "Hey, Authentic, how we doing, man?" Not too good, bro. We're not doing good, because I felt like we were on autopilot on our way towards that number 1 draft pick. And I just, not in a million years did I think about the New York Giants not having at least the top 2 picks. I just didn't even think about it. I thought that we were just on our way and just headed right towards that number 1 pick. So I'm not feeling too good today about it, especially after seeing the 2 rookie quarterbacks on Sunday Night Football yesterday putting out a hell of a performance. I mean, Michael Penix drives his team down the field with seconds left on the clock and scores a touchdown on 4th down. He converts 2 4th downs to push that game to overtime. If I was Raheem Morris, I think I would have went for it, but I know what he was thinking. Playoffs are on the line. You want to extend your chances of getting to the playoffs and whatnot. And I understand the safe play there a little bit, but if it was me, I would have went for it. And then you get to overtime, and Jaden Daniels just doesn't even allow the Washington Commanders to even get off the field. They just go down there, drive right down the field, score a touchdown, win the game. Michael Penix doesn't even get a chance to go out there and rebuttal the points that the Washington Commanders put up on the board. I'm jealous of that. I really wanted to be in that position this year and, have a franchise quarterback on the roster. Like, Atlanta lost that game, but if you're an Atlanta Falcons fan today, you have extreme hope for the future with a guy like Bijan Robinson in the backfield, with a quarterback like Michael Penix Jr., with a wide receiver one like Drake London, with a tight end who made some plays yesterday in Kyle Pitts, and with another young guy in that wide receiver core in Darnell Mooney, who just consistently makes play after play after play. He made a block on one of Bijan's runs. I think it was a little check down that Bijan caught, and Darnell Mooney's out in front of it, and he's leading the play, and he makes two blocks that get Bijan Robinson like an extra couple of yards. I just love what I'm seeing out of that team, and I envy them right now. I just wish we had that type of hope in the New York Giants facility. And not only are we dealing with all the things on the field, we're dealing with all this stuff off the field where most of us don't have faith in our general manager. Most of us don't have faith in our head coach. And it's very clear that most of the OG fans from the New York Giants fan base are looking at the owner like we absolutely don't have faith in John Mara to make the right decision. So it's tough, man. It's a tough situation. Let's pop into some of these super chats real quick. Then we'll dive into some of the Giant overreactions. And I promise y'all this is going to be a short show. I'm not going to hold y'all here for the type of misery that we as Giants fans have to go through today. It's unfortunate. And I just didn't prepare for this. And I think that's why I am where I am at today, with the dynamics of my emotions today. Because it's just like, I just didn't prepare for this. Shout out to Dean one time in the building, man. Appreciate you supporting the channel with the $4.99 super chat. Okay. Dean says, all I can do is laugh. History repeats itself. Same shit that cost us Daniels last season. Well, he says, have a good stream, bruh. Salute to you too, Dean. I appreciate you pulling up, man, and rocking out with us on this Monday, this glorious victory Monday afternoon for the New York Giants, man. Anybody that's here rocking out with us today after what happened yesterday on that football field, I salute and I commend you. I appreciate you pulling up, and those supporting the channel, that even means even more. Salute to y'all. Shout out to Door Gunner, man, representing those Washington Commanders. Big win last night with the $5 super chat. Okay. Get this water one time. Door Gunner says, NYG might mess around and win this game too. He's talking about against the Eagles, LOL. JD carrying us into the playoffs. Can't wait for the draft and our $100 million plus in salary cap space. Oh, my God. I forgot about that too, bro. I haven't stepped out in Washington, D.C. in a little while here, Door Gunner. And I haven't chopped it up with a lot of my homies, my Washington Commanders homies and whatnot, but I know they this is one. Don't let y'all fuck around and win a playoff game because, man, they are going to be chirping. I tell you that, man. But congratulations, Door Gunner. It's been an excellent season for you and your Washington Commanders. 10 wins. I mean, that's amazing. First time since 1992. You got a playoff berth yesterday. Home field. The weather gods blessed y'all with a 60-degree weather day in the DMV for that game. I know people that were at that game were ecstatic. I saw a couple of homies on my Instagram stories that were showing, video from being there. Chris Peace was there. A lot of other people were there. So shout out to all of y'all, man, for getting that W. It's been a major season. I'm going to talk about Jaden Daniels here in a little bit when we get to one of these Giant overreactions. It's amazing what a quarterback can do for your franchise. I'll leave it there until we kind of elaborate a little bit more on that point. But shout out to Door Gunner, man. Door Gunner been here pretty much every stream all year long, rocking out with us, supporting what we do over here at Authentic and the Beer. Salute to you, man, and congratulations again, my dog. Shout out my dog Talking Eco one time in the building with the $4.99 super chat. He says, now I want Ray Agnew. I don't need a desperate Shane overdrafting a quarterback. Hello, darkness, my old friend. Yeah, I feel you, bro. And this is a friend that we are very familiar with. We've been in the dark for a while. It's tough, man. And I don't even know. This completely resets my whole approach with not only the draft, not only the coaching hiring situation or process that we could possibly be going through, how I'm assessing the general manager. This has got me resetting and rethinking about how I want to do everything, to be honest. Going into next season, I was thinking, man, finishing out this documentary, I got a lot of things in play right now, a lot of pieces in play. And this throws a major fork in everything for me as far as content, near content, and content for the future. Like, imagine I got to go into next season without the New York Giants drafting a quarterback, and we got to go through a bridge quarterback situation and do another 17 games like that. It's going to be tough, man. It's going to be tough, but we going to try to hang in there. Y'all know the goal is to raise the bar and keep living those dreams, but sometimes your dreams, kind of alter. You're trying to always stay in a forward walking path, right? But sometimes your plan and your dreams might kind of divert a little bit and go a little bit left, a little diagonal. And I think that's kind of where we are at right now. I wouldn't even call this a fork in the road. I'm just trying to figure out what's the direction of not only my football team, but the way that I cover that football team. But shout out to Talking Eco, man. I appreciate all y'all rolling in with these super chats right now, man. It goes a long way. Shout out to the homie Zeke one time, man. One of my regulars over here for the $5 super chat. He says, "What's up, beloved? Just blessing you. I'm pissed." Yeah, I'm right there with you, man. I've been, it has settled in, but it's like there's more data that's coming out, and you think about a different angle, and you think about, okay, what are these teams going to be prioritizing in the draft that are ahead of us? Are we going to have to trade up? Are we going to have to trade the farm to be able to get to the pick that we need to get the quarterback? Are the New York Giants even thinking that way? Are they just thinking, man, we'll just whatever, however the draft order goes is how it goes? It's tough, man. Shout out to Zeke, man. Zeke been rocking out with us for a long time, and we have a lot of good conversations on Twitter, man. This is the bright spot of that victory, right? Like, because it's definitely not the W or the point scored or any of that. But this is the bright spot of that W, is being able to kick it with some of the fam here on Authentic and the Beard and do the opposite of rejoice here after that victory. Shout out to Hyphen Wade one time with the $4.99 super chat. Hyphen Wade says, "Don't know how to feel right now. I'm trying not to snap, but why does this team not know how to tank properly and do the right thing?" QB right there. Yeah, man, it's like, you watched all that college football on Saturday. You go into Sunday, you ready for the loss. I was getting ready for my Bleacher Report recap. And, I felt at this point in time, during the year that I could look at these recaps like, okay, I'm preparing for a loss, right? Halfway through the game, I'm like, dang, I scratched out all the notes and just had to restart the whole thing all over again. Because I didn't think in a million years New York Giants were going to win that game, man. I thought the Colts were coming in with everything on the line, and they would go out there and handle business. But, when you relying on the Indianapolis Colts to handle business, something's wrong right there. So it's tough, man. I wish we could have now I'm thinking about, and this is the first time I've done this actually, Hyphen, with you posting this here. I'm thinking about the other victories throughout the year, right? Seattle Seahawks victory was a fairly, confident victory where they went out there and they did handle business. But that Browns game, that's one that we could have left out there maybe, right? That's one that we could have allowed maybe the Browns to win that game. I remember that game started off with a fumble on the kickoff, and then Deshaun Watson on the first throw throws a back shoulder fade to Amari Cooper, who was still on the roster at the time, right on Deonte Banks. And they scored that touchdown. And I was thinking, we're probably going to lose this game. And the Giants found a way to just, get that running game going and ended up closing out that game late. But I'm looking at that game now, wishing that we could have found a way to lose that game. And speaking of Deonte Banks, man, that dude is on an island out there, man. He's not looking good. And he has definitely regressed in this Shane Bowen system. And I'm not even going to sit up here and blame Shane Bowen for that. Because Deonte Banks in man-to-man coverage has just looked terrible. 2 pass interference calls yesterday that set up the Colts. You just can't keep doing those type of things, and allowed some big plays as well. And maybe it's time the New York Giants need to start trying to figure out maybe how to assess cornerback 2 as well. I know we need a cornerback 1, but Deonte Banks has been out there looking like a backup player, like a second stringer at this point in time. But shout out Hyphen Wade, man. Appreciate you supporting the channel, my dog. All right, let's tap in with the chat and just see what the general temperature is right now. Let's see. So Kelvin Arzu says the Bills are benching their starters. He's probably talking about with their matchup next week going up against one of the teams that are ahead of us in the draft. Joseph Santiago says define bridge quarterback. 32 teams, only a handful franchise quarterbacks. Therefore, most teams, most years have bridge quarterbacks. Well, let's do a little exercise here while we're at it. We got some time today, right? Let's look at the teams, because I think that what Joseph is forgetting there is teams that have just drafted a rookie quarterback that, they're not necessarily elite quarterbacks or deemed a franchise quarterback just yet, but they are the franchise quarterback right now. So let's just go through all of the standings and kind of answer this question here, because I think this is a pretty decent topic. Buffalo Bills have their franchise quarterback. We'll start in the AFC. The Bills have their franchise quarterback. The Dolphins have Tua. They paid him. I consider him the franchise quarterback. The Jets have, I guess, what you could consider a bridge quarterback, because Aaron Rodgers is pretty old right now, and you can see his play is deteriorating. So let's call that one bridge quarterback in the NFL right now. The Patriots, I'll give you the benefit of the doubt. They started the year with a franchise or with a bridge quarterback in Jacoby Brissett and pivoted to Drake May, but I'll give you that as another bridge quarterback. That's two. The Kansas City Chiefs, they got Patrick Mahomes. The Los Angeles Chargers have Justin Herbert. The Denver Broncos have Bo Nix, who is their future franchise quarterback. He's not a bridge. He's a rookie, and they started him from day one. The Las Vegas Raiders had Aiden O'Connell, and they had Gardner Minshew, who was a bridge quarterback. That's three bridge quarterbacks so far. The Ravens don't have a bridge quarterback. The Bengals don't have a bridge quarterback. And I would say the Browns did not have a bridge quarterback this year. Deshaun Watson is paid like a franchise quarterback. He's not living up to the standards. The Pittsburgh Steelers in Justin Fields and Russell Wilson, that's a bridge quarterback. So that's four already. The Texans don't have one. The Colts don't have one. The Jaguars don't have one. The Tennessee Titans were kind of figuring things out. They did not have a bridge quarterback this year. They started Will Levis, and now they've pivoted to the backup, which is Mason Rudolph. So that's still just four bridge quarterbacks. The Eagles, Commanders, and the Cowboys don't have a bridge quarterback. The New York Giants didn't have a bridge quarterback to start the year. We're still at four. The Rams don't have a bridge quarterback. The Seahawks, I don't know if you want to consider Geno Smith a bridge quarterback. I'll give you that. That's five. The Cardinals and the 49ers don't have a bridge quarterback. The Vikings had a bridge quarterback, and he succeeded, but they also drafted the successor in J.J. McCarthy. So we'll give you six bridge quarterbacks in the league right there. The Lions, the Packers, and the Bears don't have a bridge quarterback. The Buccaneers, do you want to consider Baker Mayfield a bridge quarterback at this moment in time? I'll put a little pause into that thinking right there. The Falcons, I guess you could consider Kirk Cousins a bridge quarterback. So that's six at Kirk Cousins, seven at, we'll give you Baker Mayfield, and I'll give you eight at Derek Carr for the Saints, and the Panthers have Bryce Young. So there's eight bridge quarterbacks in the NFL right now. The majority of the NFL either has a franchise quarterback or they have a rookie quarterback, that they're hoping that will turn into a franchise quarterback. So I think that's where that goes. I kind of wanted to do that exercise just for myself there. That's a really good question, Joseph. Let me see what else we got here. Simeon says Shane has done such a great job building the rest of the team. Why wouldn't he be back? I don't know if that's sarcasm or not. I really don't know. And Cookie Monster said the same thing. Like he said, you're kidding, right? I would imagine. I think Simeon's probably just trolling right there a little bit. I kind of want to see. I don't know. Simeon says Shane has Pro Bowlers all over the place, right? I still think he's trolling us a little bit right there. Chris B says maybe Tay Banks knew the assignment. That's possible too, but throughout the whole year, Chris, because Deontay Banks has been terrible this season, all the way to the point where they had to bench him at one point. Garcia's Tattoo Studio says perhaps NY won in order to skip drafting a quarterback this year in order to grab Archie Manning in 2026. Stupid as fuck to do, but I really think our stupid owner and GM made this idea happen. I think that will be a bit of a reach. Archie Manning might not come out until the following season. He's draft eligible in 2026, but the Mannings have came out and said that he's going to finish school, so I'm not 100% sure on that one there. Let me see. G242 Marshall is in the building. Big shout out Marshall one time. He said ownership just wants our money. They don't care about getting better. I don't know about that. I mean, there could be some truth to that. I would say that the money is the priority, right? When prioritizing a hierarchy of what's most important for the franchise, I do think John Mara's looking at it like we got to make money. That's important. But I think John Mara's a guy that when they lose it does make him upset. So I can't say that it's just that they don't care about getting better. I can't say that. I really can't say that. Shout out Keith Wilson Jr. one time with the $4.99 super chat. Keith said, it was already enough seeing Cam suit up one last time just for my Canes to lose. Now this organization makes football so miserable. Yeah, they do, man. They really do. And I think that Joe Shane has just done a poor job as the general manager, and John Mara has done a poor job in hiring the correct general managers. And this has been an ongoing issue for the New York Giants for quite some time now. And I don't know how he's going to get out of his way. I gave him a couple of props earlier this year, especially during Hard Knocks where it looked like he was stepping out the way a little bit. But I don't know, man. I think John Mara needs to hire some kind of a football consultant to just come in here and really just help him run the franchise. And, the Tisch family was at this game and whatnot, and then the New York Giants end up winning. This is just all just headed in the wrong direction right now, and it's been headed in the wrong direction for all too long. This is like heading in the wrong direction, and you ask somebody for directions, and they send you, this is a famous staple in D.C. too, and I'm about sure y'all do this up in New York too, where somebody asks you for directions, and the directions are just so poor. They're just like, yo, you're going to go down there to the corner. When you see the McDonald's, make a right, and then ultimately you end up getting lost again. The Giants have done that now 7, 8, 9 times, and they just can't figure out how to just, get a GPS and figure out the damn way. And I don't understand it. And we can't do nothing about it as fans except, possibly boycott, not go to games. I saw a picture of the parking lot at the New York Giants stadium at MetLife, and I mean, half the stadium is fucking empty. But that's still not helping. I think that when it comes to running this organization, the Giants have to figure out a way to just be able to bring in the right players, get that whole Giants mantra out of the way, that whole Giants way thing, put that to the side and figure out how to upgrade that formula, or maybe even just ball that formula up and throw it away and come up with a new formula. But thus far, the Giants, in my tenure of covering this team since 2019 has been all bad. It's been all bad. Even in 2022, when a lot of people were telling me, this schedule is fugazi right now, and winning these 9 games is a fluke. Even fans from outside of the fan base. I remember going on Ref the District, talking to them about this, and the homie that's one of the co-hosts over there, Stoner, was telling me, like, the New York Giants are a fraudulent team, right? And I agreed with him. And that was going into the playoffs. And I think we all knew it at that time. And the fact that the general manager and the organization couldn't see it, and they doubled down on all those mistakes, and now we are where we are right now because of a lot of those mistakes that they doubled down on, it's unfathomable. And I also think that, there's nothing that can fix that. There's no apology. There's no medium Pepsi. There's nothing that's going to be able to get, the New York Giants back on the good graces of the fan base. It's actually pretty saddening, to be honest. But shout out to Keith Wilson, man. We chopped it up on Twitter about it. It's bad, man. It's been really, really terrible for us. Jalen Ware coming in with the $4.99 super chat. Big shout out to my dog here. He says, if we were going to take Ward at 1, then we still need to trade up for him. If he's your guy, then go get him. I agree, and we're going to talk about that here in these Giant overreactions. I do agree that if you deem Cam Ward as the franchise face, and the quarterback that you think you can succeed with, you're going to have to find a way to go get him. I even think if you have to trade some cornerstone pieces, you got to go out there and do that. And I'm going to ask some people on Twitter about this because it just came to my attention, but I didn't put this in the Giant overreactions, but I'm wondering how many people are willing to trade some of the cornerstone pieces in order to get a quarterback like Cam Ward. Do you think that he possesses the skill set that is worth that you would trade a cornerstone piece like an Andrew Thomas or like a Dexter Lawrence or like a Deonte Banks or like a Brian Burns or a Kayvon Thibodeau? I think that's something that we all got to come out here and consider. Big shout out to Jalen for supporting the channel. Shout out to my dog, Pal11, representing all my goons over there from Bleacher Report one time with the $9.99 super chat. He says, if they're stuck at 4, the top 2 quarterbacks are gone. They should trade down, get a weapon on offense in round 1, defensive tackle or cornerback in round 2, offensive line and edge in round 3, a running back in round 4, and rounds 5 through 7 get depth in free agency. Number 1 on my list would be Trey Smith from Kansas City, maybe Charvarius Ward from San Francisco. I got a good feeling the Chiefs are going to bring back Trey Smith. That's just my thinking on it. I do like Charvarius Ward, man. And Charvarius, I swear to you all on this too. I wouldn't make up no shit like this, but like, I'm a person who prays a lot, right? And Charvarius Ward was in my prayers a lot, man, because he ended up losing his child who was only like a year old, man. It's just such a devastating situation. But as far as a football player, Charvarius Ward has been a really good corner, and I think he would be a good pairing with Deonte Banks. It might not be enough, which I do like how Powell says, he would address cornerback in round 2 as well. And I do think that would be a good plan. Powell seems to be like really up on his football. Like Powell's the kind of dude I could really talk ball with like for hours on hours. I could tell this dude really lives and dies football, man. I ain't had a chance to meet Powell, but chopping it up with him on Bleach Report. And, I fished him in and I recruited him over here to the Authentic and the Beard channel. And he's been rocking out with us ever since. On the Bleach Report stream yesterday, asked me if we were doing the Giant Overreaction today, man. So, here we are. And I appreciate you being here, pal. You've been rocking out with us for a minute, supporting the channel. All that goes a long way, man. Big salute to you, fam. I see a lot of y'all in the building, man. There's a lot of my regulars in the building. I saw DeIlla's in the building. I see On Wheels 44's in the building. He says Cousin is a bridge quarterback. Yeah, yep, confirm that. Yep. I agree with you on that, especially with the way that he played this year. But I do look at the bridge quarterback situation just a little bit differently when you have the rookie quarterback there on the team. When you look at the way that the Minnesota Vikings and the Atlanta Falcons both did it, I think that is a great way of handling, bringing in a rookie quarterback, and you prepare for the worst. And in the Minnesota Vikings case, it was J.J. McCarthy going down with the knee injury early on. And Sam Darnold has been lights out. And Joseph said, I just saw this response. He says, you're naming a lot of young quarterbacks that have won. I think he meant won nothing. Yeah, I mean, that's granted. But I'm just bringing that up to show you that they are not bridge quarterbacks. A bridge quarterback is a bridge to the rookie. You feel what I'm saying there? Like, so if you're going to deem these guys a bridge quarterback, what are they bridging to if they're not doing that to a rookie quarterback? To another bridge? I don't think that makes much sense. But that's what it is. There's 8 bridge quarterbacks in the NFL, and I felt like I was actually being a little bit generous. Let me catch up to the chat, and then we'll get off into the Giant overreaction. I just kind of want to see what y'all are saying here as far as the update here. Shout out Marjorie in the building one time, too. She says, I'm not mad at the players for competing yesterday. It's their job. We will do what we need to do to get a decent quarterback in the organization. I love the theory and the philosophy from Marjorie here, which makes a lot of sense. I just don't know if I trust Joe Schoen and John Mara and the rest of the New York Giants to be able to get that done right now. It just seems that whatever is the wrong decision, and this has just been during my time on YouTube, for the past 6 seasons, it just seems like whatever is the wrong decision is what the New York Giants do. Like, there isn't a decision thus far that the Giants have made that was the right decision. Like, it's crazy to me. Like, you look at the Daniel Jones contract. You look at trading up for Deonte Banks. You look at trading up for Jalen Hyatt. You look at spending the 2 top 10 picks in 2022 on Kayvon Thibodeau and Evan Neal. You look at drafting Wan'Dale Robinson over George Pickens. You look at the entire 2022 NFL draft for the New York Giants. It was terrible. You look at not drafting a quarterback in 2024. Malik Neighbors has been a great consolation prize. Love it. But at the same time, I would have much rather had the franchise quarterback on the roster right now. You look at the Saquon Barkley stuff, Xavier McKinney, Leonard Williams. All of these moves are just looking terrible, and they looked bad in real time, but now in hindsight, they look worse. I'm starting to consider this to be something that I would place on that list too, is signing Dexter Lawrence and Andrew Thomas to the contracts. I just think the timing might not have been right, but we will see. It's not something that I'm definitive on right now, but it was something that I was speculating and considering before signing those contracts. Would it have been a good idea to just blow it up back then and just start the rebuild at that time? I think a couple of more years will give us the data and the information that we need on that situation. But shout out to Marjorie for being in the building one time, rocking out with us. Shout out Jixer one time with the $5 super chat. Jixer says, as long as Mara is still the owner, we could have every single pick in the first round and we'd still be a dumpster fire. And that's the kind of hopelessness that we have as Giants fans right now. And I never thought that the Washington Commanders would surpass us this fast. And really all it took was just blowing the whole shit up, committing to it, a owner coming in and saying, look, we're gonna tank the season. I don't care what is on the line here with Ron Rivera's job or Eric Bieniemy or Jack Del Rio. We're trading away these first-round talents that some people might deem as cornerstone pieces, because you can't sit up here and tell me that Montez Sweat is not a cornerstone piece. And the Washington Commanders were like, you know what? We don't need him right now. We're going to trade him. We're going to get some draft capital for him. And the same thing went for Chase Young. And I look at Dexter Lawrence and Andrew Thomas in a similar light. Although Dexter Lawrence is much better than any of those players that we named, Montez Sweat is still a guy who is at the top of his position. And the Commanders really did it right. And I just hope that our New York Giants can find a way to get in that direction. But shout out to Jixer, man. I appreciate you supporting the channel, my dog. That goes a long way. Shout out Mac, the Giants fan in the building too. Mac says, I'm okay with Dex. He is legitimately a top player at his position. Andrew Thomas has too much of an injury history. I would have definitely pumped the brakes on that extension. I see reasoning behind that as well. Gregory says the Barkley deal was just stupid. Yeah, it was. Not taking care of a player like that who was been the only playmaker on your roster pretty much for like the past 6 seasons. You could say all the way from 2019. Pietro Gambino says, would you rather have Ward or Sanders but keep staff, or fire everyone and have new staff and have them pick their guy in the future? I'd prefer bringing in a new staff that's gonna get the quarterback. That's where I'm at with that one. Joseph Santiago says, again, a young quarterback cannot be a franchise quarterback until he wins with that team. Well, yeah, you don't have to reiterate that point. You said isn't. I want to scroll back to the comment, but you said something about it. Doesn't every team pretty much have a bridge quarterback that doesn't have a franchise quarterback? And we went through that exercise to make it abundantly clear for you that that's not the case. Let me see what else we got here. Pietro Gambino says, Joe has swung so many times already, and his only good picks are Neighbors and Tracy. Yep, that's a fact. JDJ says, we are like 0-38 with decisions made so far. We are due for one to go our way, right? You would think, right? You would think that being in the wrong direction for so long that they could find a way to get in the right direction with at least one decision. Let me see. I see that Bookend Tackle says to Sarcone, hope that is sarcastic. I want to see what that comment is. Seems like it was up a little bit. Okay, here we go. So Sarcone says, according to Mara, Shane, and Dable, they showed you Sunday who their franchise quarterback is. That is Drew Lock. I mean, yeah, that's got to be a joke. And did they really say that? I don't think they said that. Pete Cho is in the building. He says the NY fan base is pretty whack, to be honest. I agree with you on that. Sometimes I'm ashamed to be a part of it, hearing some of the whining and crying that comes out of their mouths. Just be fans and stop trying to be a couch GM. Here's my rule for being a general manager, and I agree with your first statement and disagree with everything else you said there. Let fans fan how they want to fan. The only rule I have to being a fan of the New York Giants is just be quiet when it comes to how I fan for my team. Like, I don't care how you fan for your team. Just don't tell me how to fan for mine. If I want to be up here and play general manager, what would be the problem with that? If a fan wants to go, what if a fan has aspirations of being a general manager one day? Is there a problem with that they start from being a fan first? Is there a problem with that? I don't see any problem with that. I think that fans need to be critical of the team. And when you have fans out here that actually have better formulas to be able to figure out how to get this team in the right direction than the actual general manager, there lies your problem. You can't call it whining. Like, did you call it whining when the Cleveland Browns fans went however many years they did without a winning season, and they went through like 16 seasons without a franchise quarterback? Is that whining, or is that just stating what it is and having some beef with it? I don't think that that's whining. Whining, to me, comes with nitpicking, right? Like, whining would be when the New York Giants in 2022 go to the playoffs. You're like, why can't they lose more games? That's whining. I get that part of it. But at the end of the day, I'll sit up here and keep it funky with you. I think that fans like you, Pete, are probably more the problem than the people that are playing general manager. Because at least the people that are playing general manager are looking around and trying to figure out a way of, why is this shit going wrong every season? I'm not going to just sit up here like a dumb fuck and root for this team year after year after year when they continue to make the same mistakes year after year. Then you got to point the finger at me for being the dumb fuck. We can't keep doing that. Like, honestly, I understand all the frustrations from all these fans. You know, in 2017, I watched somebody dear to me when Odell, Sterling Shepard, Dwayne Harris, and Brandon Marshall all got hurt in that Week 5 game, shed a tear for the New York Giants. And today, that same fan is not even invested in this team anymore. Don't watch the games, none of that stuff, right? Because it doesn't fucking matter anymore. The New York Giants have been so bad for so long, you can't put this shit on the fans. You can't put this shit on the fans for complaining. And don't forget, I don't know if you're on Twitter or nothing like that, but when you're on social media, bro, everybody's not even an adult on those platforms. So if I see somebody who's in their early 20s complaining and, by your definition, whining about the New York Giants, that's a problem. Some of these kids have not even seen any winning football from this franchise during their whole entire lives on the planet. I think that we could sit up here and at least try to project some positive affirmations on them that they could get to that winning formula. Being up here and being critical about a football team, to me, there's no problem with that. And I know that you're not saying this comment necessarily about me, but I'll admit to it. I play couch GM. I got the time to do that kind of shit. I sit up here and when we end this season, I'm literally going to go on a head coaching search. I'm literally going to go on a general manager search as if I am John Mara. So that when they go out there and they do the process of trying to hire the next great New York Giants head coach, I can either feel comfortable and confident about it, or I can feel some type of way about it. But Pete, let's be real here, bro. We can't point the finger at the fan base for their complaints about a shitty organization. We can't do that, bro. We just can't do that. And I'm not going to sit up here and tell you how to fan, but I'm going to tell you when you want some bullshit. I think you want some bullshit with that statement. I got to keep it funky with you. And I know, Pete, I'm glad you updated. He says, I wasn't criticizing your takes. I know you weren't. I'm speaking for the fan base here. But let me get this off to just see what your rebuttal here is. He says, Authentic, I was more pointing out the people who are mad at the Giants for winning because they didn't tank properly. They should be mad at the Colts. I don't know. I'm one of those people too, bro. Like, I look at the New York Giants from top down, and when you have an opportunity with 2 games left to get the number 1 overall selection, somebody from up top got to jump in and be like, look, man, we can't win this game. Go out here and assess the talent. We've been bad for too long. And I can understand disagreeing with that philosophy. I honestly understand that I am in the minority when I say that. I understand that. But at the end of the day, we can't point to the fans. We can't point to the fans. We got to point to this organization for putting us in this situation where we are finalizing a season and we are rooting for losses comfortably as a franchise, bro. Like, you got to understand that 90% of the fan base right now wanted to lose that game. Understand where we are at and why we are at where we are at. It has nothing to do with the fan base and people trying to play couch GM. More kudos to those people. Like, how can we sit up here and be critical about fans that want to know more about the game and want to be more knowledgeable on the situation coming into the offseason? We can't point the finger at them, bro. I'm like, it's no disrespect, Pete, but I just think that take is some bullshit. That's just how I feel about it. Shout out Kelvin one time in the building with the $9.99 super chat. He says, I was literally, and let me highlight this on the screen. He says, I was literally telling another content creator that there's no new Giants fans. Just people who've seen the most recent Super Bowl, which is over a decade. And bro, you're 100% right on that. Like, listen, I became a New York Giants fan outside of the New York Giants market when I was a kid. Do you think that would have happened with the current state that the New York Giants are in right now? Fuck no. Absolutely not, right? The reason why I became a New York Giants fan is because my homies came down from New York. My best friend, I'm talking Sandbox, my best homie. Literally, we stacked the red bricks and Head Start together, right? His whole family was a New York Giants fan, and the New York Giants were winning games and winning Super Bowls, okay? And I'm looking at them like, my brother's a Cowboys fan. All my friends are Commanders fans. I'm like, nah, I like this franchise. I'm a fan of this franchise. I'm going to go with this franchise. You know how many people have done that, have became fans like that of the Kansas City Chiefs during the Patrick Mahomes era? But during this particular run, there are no new New York Giants fans. Kelvin is spot on here. I'm glad this super chat came in because it piggybacks off what we were just talking about. Like, if you were born in, let's say, like, how old is a ninth grader right now? A ninth grader is 14 years old, right? So a ninth grader was born in 2010. So that's the last of that breed. Outside of that, all the kids coming up playing football in Pee Wee, they don't even know what a winning New York Giants football team looks like. So this is something that would be great for them. But as somebody in my shoes that's been a fan of this team, that's a 41-year-old that's been a fan of this team since like 86, right? We are overly invested in this team. All of us talk ball every day. You know why? You know why we want to be more knowledgeable about the game? Why we want to play couch GM? Why we want to know who the candidates are? The top offensive coordinators out there right now that could possibly be a New York Giants head coach. You want to know why we do that? Because we love this game. On top of that, we love this team. I've seen some of my young homies pivot. They have left the New York Giants franchise to try to go on and root for other teams. And they don't even feel good about doing that. But me as an OG, there's no way I'm going to be able to do that. I'm too invested in this football team. I've been here this long. We got to just tough it out. But at the end of the day, we got to look at John Mara and this franchise, man. We can't be looking at the fans and all this stuff. And I agree with you. Our fan base be saying some of the most dumbest shit I've ever heard in my entire life. That's the part I do agree with you on. But at the end of the day, I do think that they are conditioning of their conditioning, right? Their condition has been conditioned by the state of the New York Giants of how bad they are, right? So now they want to take their energy and their emotion and their anger to social media and get into arguments with fans and get into arguments with content creators, which honestly, that's not what we should be doing. The logical thinking would say that we need to band together right now during these times, but I understand how difficult that is because this team is so poor. And there are some people that are still clinging on to that whole fandom hope, right? Where it's like, just root for the team. Now, I'm not about to just sit up here and just root for the team with my hands underneath my ass. Like, I'm not doing that. I'm not going to do that. I've always been somebody who was critical. If you've been watching Authentic in the Beard since the beginning, I've been critical about this team, these players, these coaches, these general managers, and most importantly, the owner. But I'm not going to sit up here and tell you that your fandom needs to be in the identical line of thinking as mine. But at the end of the day, this ain't on the fans, bro. This can't be on the fans. And I'm glad Kelvin chimed in with this super chat here because I think it rounded it out. Like, you got to understand that some of these young kids have never seen winning New York Giants football. They don't know what that shit is like. They don't even know what it's like to have a franchise quarterback go out there that they can truly feel comfortable with, that this guy's going to win us that game, like how the Washington Commanders felt last night with Jaden Daniels at the quarterback position. And I'll leave it about right there. Shout out to Chris Peace one time for chiming in with the $4.99 super chat. He says, remember when the Eagles said, let's see what Nate Sudfeld has? Or Belichick said, I want to see what Jared Stidham can do. Pepperidge Farms remembers. Yeah, man. And they do that so that they can get themselves into a position going into the next year. The victory against the Indianapolis Colts on Sunday is top 5, one of the most prominent definitions of what it is like to win a meaningless game. And like Marjorie said, you can't expect the players to go out there and just, fuck up a couple of plays, make a couple of business decisions. I actually could expect that, to be honest. I could expect Darius Slayton in a contract year to be like, I don't got to go out here and make too many plays. Let me just go out here. I don't got to fight that break the extra tackle and score the touchdown. He could have, right? But I do think he is an honorable, football player to go out there and do that because that's their job. That's what they're supposed to do. But tanking, some people think tanking doesn't exist. When it does exist, it comes from the top down. And I think that some people might look at this as a Houston Texans situation, but it's very difficult for me to do that right now with this particular quarterback class being, not as highly touted as the last. But shout out Chris Peace, man. I know he was at the game yesterday. That was major. Zach Phillips is coming in one time with the $4.99 super chat. He says, what's your thought with Dylan Gabriel if we move back? I don't have a thought on that yet, to be honest, because I'm highly invested in the 2 top quarterbacks in this draft. The, second place prize for me would have maybe been like a Jalen Milroe and a possibly maybe a Jackson Dart. I got to do some more research on these guys. That's just where it's at right now. And I think once the season ends, I'll be able to come out here and do some more prospect type stuff and really have some confident opinions on it. But right now, I don't want to put too many opinions out there about the draft just yet. But shout out to Zach Phillips for supporting the channel. Gregory says, authentic, I think the problem comes with the way the draft is designed. I've never understood why teams that suck the most get the highest picks in the draft. Why are we rewarding bad teams? I think that if you didn't reward the bad teams, then the good teams, imagine the Kansas City Chiefs right now, if they had the number 1 pick, every year that they've been in the Super Bowl, won the Super Bowl, it would be very difficult to knock them off of that pedestal that they will be on. So I think that, there has to be some kind of formula to it that the teams that are worse to even the playing field get them better players on their roster. But I mean, just imagine if you took the number 1 overall pick or gave the Kansas City Chiefs their pick at the cream of the crop. I mean, they could have had a guy like Malik Neighbors on the roster this year, you know, could have had a guy like Aiden Hutchinson on there. It would have just gotten a little bit ridiculous. So I think that's where you kind of gotta at least agree with some of the thinking. The other option to maybe consider would be a lottery, kind of like how the NBA does it, but that's always bothered me a little bit too. Produced by Brownie is in the building, says, you know what? I'd be more optimistic and excited for the future if Mara's grand plan was to tank and told Dable that his job after DJ situation, that it's his job, I think, after DJ situation, so we could land our guy. I'd probably be more comfortable like that as well. Yeah, and Sebastian says, why not do a lottery like the NBA? Yeah, I don't really have any opinions against the lottery. I just know that when you're like the worst team and you know you go to that lottery and you end up with like the 5th pick or whatever, that's also not fair as well, but it's understandable. Pete Cho says tanking is a tough business because you never really control your own destiny in these situations. You still need other bottom teams to win because you can't just simply throw games. And that's the thing about our case, Pete, is we were in that situation. The Giants were the only 2-win team in the entire NFL. You know, so in that regards, it's funny. I'm about to say control our own destiny, which is something that's normally said to win out so you can get in the playoffs and whatnot. But we kind of did control our own destiny if we would have lost these games. You know, now that we are, you know, we won a game and these other teams lost a few games. Now you're looking at 4 teams that are sitting with 3 wins right now. And we don't control our destiny. And it is this situation that you're describing here where we're going to need some teams to lose. And it's not looking good going into this last week of the NFL season. Shout out Deedon. I see Jesser's in the building too. Shout out to all of y'all, man. Appreciate y'all. JDJ says, does Barkley suit up to break the rushing record against us, or will they rest everyone? I don't know. I've been one that's been against resting players, at least for that first half. You know, get out there, get them legs warm, kind of go into the playoffs with a little bit of momentum. The Eagles are not going to have the first round bye this year, so there's that. So, I mean, that does give them some reason to, you know, rest, and then they will have to play the following week. But I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do. I hope they suit up Barkley. I'd love to see him break the record. It'd be awesome. Reese Anderson says this is 2 straight years that Dable screwed the tank up. Yep. I think Dable is more to blame than the quarterbacks too. Like you could blame Tommy DeVito last year, you could blame Drew Lock this year, but I think, you know, all in all, you got to blame Dable for going out there and winning some meaningless games. Last year was a better situation though, because at least he did it like, you know, not with the last couple of games. They did it in the back half of the back half of the season. So, you know, we won 3 games straight, and I do think that spoke volumes for Brian Dable and the kind of guy he was. But this year, man, 2 weeks to go and you win a game, that really hurts. Shout out Eric Davis. He says players are playing for their salaries and their careers. They ain't thinking about tanking. Only us fans want the tank, but unfortunately, we are not going to get it. Giants are winning in Philly on Sunday. I don't know if we win in Philly on Sunday. It depends who they start. Players are playing for their salaries. That's a fact. And their careers. That's a fact. They're not tanking. That's a fact. Only us fans want the tank. I don't know if that's real. For instance, a guy like Brandon Brown, I think he's sitting in that locker room like, all right, man, you know, it'd be cool to win a game for the morale or whatever of the locker room, but let's go out here and lose this game. I think Joe Shane would have preferred it too. I don't think that this helps Joe Shane's job by winning this game. But not getting his quarterback is absolutely going to affect his, you know, tenure with the New York Giants in the future. Sank Zappa said, my ex was shocked when I told her the last place team gets the first pick. In her country, the last place team gets relegated into the second division. They don't get back to the first until they win Division 2. That's an interesting theory right there, too. Like, your team's so bad, we about to relegate you to the CFL, my dog. I like that. I ain't going to lie. Shout out my dog, Sank Zappa, in the building one time. Let me see. JDJ said, do you think the Eagles are going to give us the Cam Ward firsthand treatment? I don't know, man. You know, you allow the New York Giants to win that game, and boy, everything you're thinking about Cam Ward, you can ball it up and throw it out the window. Unless they trade up. That would be some That would be some really mischievous and calculated general manager philosophy right there from Howie Roseman. Maybe, man, maybe. Because that game definitely does not matter to the Philadelphia Eagles. Let me see. Alex Hobson's in the building. He says, to be fair, we all expected let me think what he's saying there. To be fair, we all expected DL to throw 2 picks and all of a sudden he played clean. He says, couldn't have ever predicted that one. To be fair, we all expected DL to throw 2 picks. Oh, Drew Lock. Okay. I'm thinking Dexter Lawrence. I'm thinking defensive line. I don't know where my head was at. Yeah. Drew Lock went out there and balled out. I knew Drew Lock had a little bit in the gas tank, but I didn't know he could go out there and put up 5 total touchdowns. And that one was crazy. Derek Jones is in the building. Big shout out to Derek Jones one time. Let me see. Red X3R0's in the building. He says, if Barkley breaks the record, he will be the MVP. Instant Hall of Fame and will be remembered by his teammates forever. There's a tweet that I bookmarked from the beginning of the season where one of my homies was saying that Giants fans are really going to feel some type of way when Saquon Barkley is considered for a gold jacket, and I haven't thought about it since. But if he breaks that Eric Dickerson record, that's absolutely a guy that's going to be in the Hall of Fame. Yeah, and you say the type of documentary, the type of shit that documentaries are made of. Yeah, man. Damn, that's crazy, man. Like that Saquon thing, you just saying that, Red X, just made it kind of settle in for me a little bit there. Like, imagine Saquon Barkley goes to the Hall of Fame and he's not a Giant. That shit is crazy. Old Boy G is in the building. Big shout out, Old Boy G. He said, this is on management. The Giants did not want the first pick and have to draft a black quarterback, something they have never done. Now they have their excuse. Why play your starters? Let's keep this up here one time real quick. Oh, boy, let's keep this topic at hand. I like this one right here, and this was going to be one of our Giant overreactions as well. So I'm going to kind of go out of order so we can start to show off with this one here because I do like talking about the black quarterback situation. I think it is an interesting one. So for those of y'all that don't know, the way we do the Giant overreaction, I'm going to put up a statement on the screen here from social media. And if you deem that statement is accurate, I want you to take the under, which means you agree with it. If you think it is an overreaction and you disagree with it, I want you to put an O in the chat to represent that you are deeming it an overreaction. And if you're kind of split and you need a little bit more time, you can put a P in the chat to represent that you are taking a push. So without further ado, let's get off into the first Giant overreaction of the day. All right, so I saw this one going around social media, and it's very in line with the last comment that we were just talking about. And this is the whole black quarterback situation here. This one came from Joe Methazine, crazy name right there. He said, the Giants winning today is proof that they don't want to draft a black quarterback. And this is kind of along the lines of what, let me think of who the homie was that just brought that up real quick. I'm trying to scroll back. I can't remember who it was, so we'll keep it pushing. But it's very in line to the last comment that was on the screen that we were talking about with black quarterbacks and messing up your draft. And these are my as far as the Giants purposely winning a game to not draft a black quarterback, I think that's kind of ridiculous. I think it is an overreaction, to be honest. Now, let's go over a little bit of history here with the New York Giants. They just came off just 2 general managers ago from a black general manager, which was Jerry Reese. You can't forget about Ronnie Barnes as the athletic trainer, who was the first black head athletic trainer for any team in the NFL. You can't forget about Emlyn Tunnell, the first African-American who was inducted into the Hall of Fame. He was a New York Giants player. He was the first black player to play for the New York Giants as well. Let's not forget about Eli Manning, who started 210 consecutive games before being benched for Geno Smith, who was a black quarterback as well. And a lot of people also like to say that the New York Giants have never drafted a black quarterback in the history of the franchise, when in 2008, in the 6th round, they did draft a black quarterback in Andre Woodson. So, you have to ask yourself, is it racism? Like, that they would be prejudiced only for certain positions? And I do understand that quarterback is the most important position, not only in the NFL, but in all of sports. But if that was the case, why would you bench your white quarterback who started 210 straight games and then put him on the bench for a black quarterback. I would think that if I was a racist man, which it is very hard to think with a racist mind, but if I was a prejudiced or a racist thinker, why would I bench a white quarterback for a black quarterback? Why would I do that? I don't think this is racism within the New York Giants organization. I think that what this is placism, to take a quote from Any Given Sunday where Jamie Foxx talked about it. It's the style of play that they want at the quarterback position. The guy that they deem as the face of the franchise, they want him to be a true pocket passing type of quarterback that will likely influence or, be a better candidate for the people that are in New York that are representing the blue collar worker and all that stuff, right? Which it is an absolute fact that probably some of those people are racist, right? But I don't think you can put that on the organization of the New York Giants and say that they are a racist organization because they haven't drafted a black quarterback. I mean, they're coming out of a 2-decade span where the quarterback was Eli Manning, and before that, it was Phil Simms and Jeff Hostetler for another almost 2 decades. In between that, we had a slew of terrible quarterbacks, one of them coming out of Duke, and there were just a bunch of guys that just didn't work out during that time period. But at the end of the day, I don't think that this is racism because of some of those facts that I just brought up there. So I got to say that this one is definitely an overreaction. I kind of want to see what the chat, has to say about it. It's not to say that I would rule out the franchise having any racist innuendos, but at the end of the day, you don't hire the first black athletic trainer. You don't, sit down Eli Manning after 210 starts for a black quarterback. You don't hire a black general manager to come in and make all the moves for the organization and sign all the players and give them their salaries if indeed you are a racist organization. I think that this would be a very particular case of racism if that was the case, or the reasoning why the New York Giants just don't want to draft a black quarterback. Let me see what the chat is talking about here, and then we'll keep it pushing to the next Giant overreaction. Let's see. Let me scroll back to the first vote. Okay, so Alex Hobson agrees with the statement on the screen. Cresley thinks it's an overreaction. Shout out to Cresley, man. We've been having some good conversations on social media as well. Let me see if that has anything to do with this one. Nope. JD Sports Talk, doubling down on it, says they drafted the quarterback Andre Woodson in 2008. Yep, brought that to y'all attention as well. Derek Jones says it's an overreaction. Luke says it's an overreaction as well. He says they would have drafted Daniels if they could have last year. Possibly. Sean is taking the under. He agrees with the statement on the screen. Lou Mateo's taking a super under. He says it's written on the wall. It's effing sad. Pietro is taking the under as well. He agrees with the statement on the screen. Marjorie says it's an overreaction along with Cresley. G242 Marshall says he's taking the under along with Kareem Yee, K4M the Great, Ron Mills, and Mike Harris. Chris Peace is taking the push until they draft one. I respect that right there. Oh, Pietro said he meant to say it's an overreaction. I think the organization is just dumb. I like this take. This is probably spot on. Bookend Tackle says, I don't think that's true. Joe and crew wanted to lose. Derek Jones says, I think the Giants wanted to try and justify keeping Dable. I think Dable wanted to try to justify keeping Dable because, that definitely helps him out. I Am Jarrell and Bookend Tackle say it's an overreaction along with Pete Cho. Let me see. Deedon is taking the push on this one, says if they don't make efforts to trade up, then it's solidified. Jay Jackson agrees with the statement on the screen. He's taking the under. Bergs is taking the push. He said Giants players of every race, creed, and color have loved playing for the Giants. However, it's too many coincidences to fully rule it out. I like that take. It's a good reasoning behind the push right there. Let me see. Lou Mateo says, I think management is different from playing, though, especially being head of the table. Yeah, and we had a black general manager. That's part of management. Gregory says that's ridiculous and bullshit. He says it's a way overreaction. Mac, the Giants fans taking the push. I really want to give this franchise, I love, the benefit of the doubt, although the optics aren't very good. I agree the optics aren't very good for sure. Pete Cho says, has every team drafted a black quarterback? Yes, every team has. A lot of people like to say every team except the New York Giants have drafted a black quarterback, but they did draft one in 2008. Julius is taking the under. He agrees with the statement on the screen. Joseph Santiago says, I'll take Justin Fields over the Sanders show and Cam Ward. I wouldn't do that. I would consider bringing in Justin Fields and one of those quarterbacks because Justin Fields ain't going to cost you no more than like $10 million a year. and you could draft a quarterback that will cost you somewhere around $25 million throughout the entire duration of the contract. Eddie says, we heard what he said about losing sleep with Saquon. Sarcone says racism is just an excuse for some people. Let me see. Kareem Yee says they haven't drafted a black quarterback to be the franchise quarterback. I guess you could say that. I mean, drafting a guy in the 6th round is wasting a draft pick on a quarterback that you could ultimately see being the franchise quarterback. But when you draft a guy in the 1st round, I do agree that is very different. I do agree with you on that, Kareem. The Bald Walker's in the building. Big shout out to Bald Walker rocking with us one time. He says it's an overreaction. This team isn't racist. It's just dumb. Agree with you on that. Red X3R0 says he's taking the under. Actions still speak louder than words. I still don't know how to feel about Ward quitting at halftime. I'll get to that in a second. Tom Brady would never do that. Now I'm questioning his competitive nature. Bro, don't use the halftime narrative. That's one of the most silliest things ever, Red X. Don't fall for that bullshit, okay? Cam Ward, they knew that he was only going to play the first half in this game and not play the second half. That was a part of the plan in the beginning. To support his teammates, he wanted to go out there and play the first half and get them in position to win so that they could try to win a bowl game. They ultimately ended up losing by 1 score. What about Xavier Restrepo, the number 1 wide receiver for Cam Ward, who didn't even play in the entire game, that opted to not play so that he could get ready for the NFL draft? If Cam Ward would have said that, would that have bothered you? Probably not, man. Don't look at this as competitive nature. Cam Ward is one of the most competitive quarterbacks coming out this year. Don't look at this halftime narrative that a lot of people are spreading on social media. I think it's foolish. Mac, the Giants fan, says they didn't immediately fire McAdoo after that move. Very true. Pietro Gambino says, I think it's an overreaction. Go ask Joe or Mara if they want Lamar Jackson as their quarterback. I will guarantee they would take him in a heartbeat. Now, I think it's an overreaction too. But when Lamar Jackson was out there on the market and was underneath the exclusive or non-exclusive franchise tag, I believe it was, for the Baltimore Ravens, the Giants came out and didn't say they wanted Lamar Jackson. They didn't make a push for Lamar Jackson. Teams came out like the Atlanta Falcons and said, we actually want nothing to do with Lamar Jackson, as a matter of fact. We don't want to pay that dollar for a quarterback. So I don't know about this. There were Giants fans who even thought that signing Daniel Jones was smarter than signing Lamar Jackson. I don't know about the Lamar Jackson in the heartbeat part, but I agree with you on this one. Eric Davis says, I couldn't see the Giants drafting a black quarterback, so he's taking the under. He agrees with the statement on the screen. I can see them drafting a black quarterback. I could. I think they would have done it last year if Jaden Daniels was there for them. And Deaton doubled down on that. He said Shane went to see Daniels, Ward, and Sanders. It makes 0 sense. Derek Allen says it's an overreaction. The players can't worry about the draft. The Giants just fucked the pooch when they won the game. But I've never heard that term. I like that, though. He says, but I'm happy to see all the locker room smiles. Fuck it, we'll get somebody. I hope you're right on that last sentence, Derek. I really do. And I do agree with you. It is an overreaction. Alex Hobson says, I guess time will tell. I'd love to see the Giants make a huge trade and get one of the top quarterbacks if we are out of reach for one in the draft. I'm with you on that. Jay Jackson said there are 3 black quarterbacks in the division, and all 3 have winning records against the Giants. Made McAdoo sidestep Mahomes. It smells funky. It does, and it would smell even funkier, right, if they sidestepped Patrick Mahomes and went out there and drafted another quarterback like a Mitchell Trubisky or something crazy like that. But they ended up not drafting a quarterback that year. And then the following season, they went out there and they drafted Saquon Barkley. So to me, it just screams they were still invested in Eli Manning. Because you can't forget how 2017 went. They invested all that money in the defense the year before, and then they tried to bring in Brandon Marshall along with Odell Beckham and Sterling Shepard to kind of give, Eli Manning the proper weapons to go out there and win games. And then they all got hurt in the 5th week of the season. So they looked at it as kind of like, a wash in a way, and they wanted to kind of reboot and go out there in 2018 and give Eli Manning another chance to win. But it doesn't look great. I do agree on that. Shout out to homie Stan in the building one time. Stan said he's taking the push. It wasn't deliberate by the players, but 100 years, and you are the only team never to draft one in the first one, and you were the last NFL team to start one with Geno in 2017. I don't think Geno Smith is the first black quarterback to get the start for the New York Giants. I think that's incorrect, actually. It was it's the quarterback that played for Dallas for a while. Let me look it up so we can give everybody some accurate information. because I want to say it was Anthony something that got the first start for the Giants. Anthony Wright, yeah. Anthony Wright started the game for the New York Giants before what's my man you talking about here? Geno Smith, I believe. I believe that information is correct. But I mean, yeah, the optics are a little weird. I like the stance taking the push here. It doesn't seem deliberate. As far as the 100 years goes, I look at like the first 80, maybe 80 is a little bit too much. I look at the first like 60 to 65 years as like, okay, that's like not a lot of teams have black quarterbacks, bro, back in the day. Like pre-1975, there aren't many black quarterbacks at all. And teams started to kind of fix that narrative through the 80s and the 90s. But the Giants had franchise quarterbacks, and I think that's the tough part. Like, let me look this up, too, because Phil Simms was our franchise quarterback for so long, and I want to say he was drafted in 79. Yeah, Phil Simms was drafted in 79. That went all the way throughout my entire childhood, Stan. It was Phil Simms, literally, all the way from 79 to like 90, 94, 95, something like that. Like, when was Phil Simms' last season? 94, maybe? 1993 was Phil Simms' last season. So all the way from 79 to 1993, Phil Simms played quarterback with a little bit of Jeff Hostetler sprinkled in there. He took the starting job from Phil Simms for a little bit, and then Phil Simms won the job back. And then you have a buffer of a bunch of bum quarterbacks from like Danny Cannell and a few others, and then you get Eli Manning. So it's like they didn't have really a need to draft a franchise quarterback. So I'm almost going to look up, after we get off this stream, I want to look up all the Giants quarterbacks that have been drafted in the past like 35 years. There's not many. Real People says it's an overreaction as well. Stephen Bloom said it's an overreaction. Let me see. Lou Mateo says, isn't that what got Ben McAdoo fired? I'm not 100% sure, to be honest. I mean, I'm sure the losing season was a part of it. But I know it didn't have anything to do with, wanting Patrick Mahomes. I know that wasn't it. But I think it was just the way that season went, and they fired him in season. Don't forget that. Derek Jones says everything is not always about race. Many reasons besides race to not want one of the quarterbacks. Yeah, I agree with you. Everything is not about race. Some things are about race, right? Like I do talk about, the plight of the black quarterback a lot on this channel because that was about race, right? But everything is not about race. I do agree with Derek Jones on that. Stephen Bloom says we've been tied to Ward and Sanders all season. That's true. The proof will be in the pudding. If they go out there and get one of these quarterbacks, it will quiet this entire conversation that a lot of people have been having. Cliberson Joseph said it's an overreaction along with professionally certified hater, Barry, and Sarcone. Sebastian said it's way over. Sam says it's an overreaction. Joseph said that Reese was the first black GM. I like this one right here from Mr. Copate. That's a good way to put some overreactions out there. Jixer said he's taking the push until they make Brown the new GM over Joe Shane. I don't think that matters. We just came out of having a black general manager for damn near a decade in Jerry Reese. So I don't think that matters. Shout out to Reese Anderson for the $2 super chat. He says last year Pats missed a 35-yard field goal against us. Tank. Yeah, that was a tough one too. That was a tough one. Yep. Definitely a tough one. Shout out to Reese for supporting the channel one time. TJ said it's an overreaction. Sam said it's an overreaction. They just wanted a culture win over the Tank. Yep. Max says, I know they drafted Woodson in 2008, but let's be serious. Did they draft him to be the future of the franchise? I mean, not necessarily, but think about it. They spent a late round draft pick on a quarterback. So regardless of whether it was the face of the franchise, if you were racist, would you do that? Think about that part of it. That's why I'm bringing it up. JDJ says it's an overreaction, although I think Brian Flores might say under. That's a good point right there. I love that. I love that right there. Santa Claus says it's an over. Players won the game, no front office. Let me see. This is a new name in the building. Let me see if I can say this right. Kalahari, I think. Kalahari Arbidal says, no, it's not about race. It's just this team is winning meaningless games for nothing. 100. Now we pay the price. We have a chance to get Shadur. Setting this team back 3 years. Yeah, it might. It really might. Chris P says, I believe that the issue is the Giants haven't drafted a black quarterback to be the face of the franchise is the question. But does it matter? My thing is like, if you're going to say that the reason why the New York Giants are a racist organization is because they have not drafted a black quarterback to be the face of the franchise. So why would they draft a quarterback in the late rounds? Like to show they aren't racist? It just, the math ain't mathing on that. You feel me? And like I said, I'm not ruling it out or nothing like that, but the evidence shown does not show that the Giants are a racist organization. If it came out tomorrow that they have done some racist shit under the rug, it wouldn't surprise me. Sam says, I'm a Patriots fan. Just want to say thank you guys and want to know if you as a Giants fan want Sanders or Ward or a third option. I like Sanders the most. Cam Ward is quarterback one for me, and I think that's a good segue to go off into the next Giant overreaction. So big shout out to Sam representing those Patriots that are going to get a higher pick in the draft than our New York Giants again is what it's looking like. But let's get off into this next Giant overreaction here. This one is definitely going to be about the quarterbacks coming out this year, and I think we can kind of elaborate on this conversation here a little bit more. It's wild because like I had an order for the Giant overreactions, and I do tend to kind of go out of order depending on what we're talking about. And literally, with the way the avenue of the conversation went, I'm doing them like backwards, literally backwards. But this one's coming from your boy right here, Authentic, who says Miami Hurricanes quarterback Cam Ward is QB1 in the 2025 NFL draft. Y'all let me know if y'all think this is an overreaction. I'm sure people are going to have some different opinions on this one. But let me tell you how I look at it like this. And I talked about this on Bleacher Report a little bit yesterday as well. When it comes to the skill set, the moxie, the arm strength, the arm talent, the pocket presence, the awareness, I think that Cam Ward is a step above what we're seeing from Shedeur Sanders. Then there's the leadership, the battling the adversity, coming from a small school in Incarnate Ward, then going to Washington State, then entering the transfer protocol to then take Miami, a team that was relatively not known for their football program for the last couple of years. And Cam Ward has got them back on the map as a competitor now. All of that was on display in that Pop-Tarts Bowl versus Iowa State. This dude put up 4,000 yards this season, 39 touchdowns, and 7 interceptions. When you look at some of the numbers in comparison to Shedeur Sanders, a lot of them are very similar. But when you look at that pressure to sack percentage, that's where Cam Ward's numbers kind of shine for me just a little bit, and he has about a 5% advantage over Shedeur Sanders. I feel like when the pocket is breaking down and when you need a quarterback that's going to go out there and make a play like what we saw from Jaden Daniels last night on third down after third down, using his legs to get his team back in the game, using his legs to buy time in the pocket to then make the throws down the field, I think Cam Ward possesses a greater skill set than Shedeur Sanders has at this current moment in time. I've watched a lot of Cam Ward's games, like almost all of them, and I've watched a lot of all 22 on Cam Ward. I haven't had the luxury of doing that for Shedeur Sanders yet. And shout out to Stan in the chat. He says that when I go and I look at some of the tape on Shedeur Sanders, I'm going to maybe lean my opinion towards Shedeur Sanders a little bit more. But I think I'm pretty stuck. I think that Cam Ward is the quarterback one in this draft. Things could change come April, but I really don't think they will. And right now, I just think that Shedeur Sanders is more like Jalen Milroe and Jackson Dart and some of the other quarterbacks in this draft and less like a Cam Ward. I think Cam Ward possesses an ability to be able to throw off platform like some of the greats. Reminds me a lot of Patrick Mahomes. If I were to compare it to another decade, it kind of reminds me a little bit of like a Jay Cutler a little bit as well. A guy who had extreme arm talent, but it was up here where Jay Cutler couldn't get things, going in the right direction. So for me, Cam Ward number one this entire season, and Cam Ward is the number one quarterback in this draft. Let's see what y'all are talking in the chat here. See where y'all are at, and then we'll keep it pushing to the next Giant overreaction. All right, so let's see. We'll start off with Hyphen Wade. Hyphen Wade says that he's taking the push. He thinks that him and Shedeur have their weaknesses as quarterbacks, but he'd be fine with either. He just prefers Cam Ward. Capital G agrees with the statement on the screen. Barry agrees with it. Bergs agrees with it and says film says he's worthy. Simeon agrees with it and says I had him as one before the season began. I did as well. And, I almost treated it like a Cam Ward had the championship belt, right? And if we're going to have these two boxers fight each other, to take that belt, you have to convincingly win that match. And I feel like Shedeur Sanders didn't do that this year. Derek Jones says Sanders is not great under pressure and the Giants have no O-line. Is it a bad fit? I think that you can't truly worry about what's happening up front. And I think that when the Giants are healthy, they have a decent offensive line. A decisive quarterback is going to help all these things out. Don't allow a bad fit with what the roster has on the current roster right now to allow you to not draft a guy like a Shedeur Sanders. Imagine if it was, and I'm not saying that he is this guy, but imagine if it was Joe Burrow, a guy who's more, a pocket passer, can take those sacks. We saw that in his first 2 seasons. Would a bad offensive line stop you from drafting him? I don't think so, but you could also argue that Joe Burrow was a much higher touted prospect than Shedeur Sanders is. Shout out to Reggie Knight in the building one time. He said, on Hard Knocks, we saw the front office was trying to trade up for a quarterback. Any chances they try to do that in this draft? I hope so. I do think that there is a chance. I don't know what Joe Shane is going to do, and I do expect Joe Shane to be back next year as the general manager, against my own will, to be honest. But I think they would trade up. It depends on what they'll have to give up. JDJ says, I think he has great tools, but I think his gunslinger ways will either translate and he'll be good or he'll be a turnover machine and complete bust. No in between for him. I'm not mad at that take right there. Sebastian says, I don't know. He gives Jameis vibes with the gunslinger throws. I don't think he gives me Jameis Winston vibes. Better pocket presence, better feet, better natural gifted athlete as well. Jameis could have had a decent career, but with Jameis, it was his willingness to always throw the deep ball got him into trouble a lot and, led to a lot of interceptions for him. But Jameis Winston is still one of the only quarterbacks to throw for 5,000 yards in a season. I think it's only been done 26 times, and multiple quarterbacks have done that a lot. Red X3R0 says he's taking the push. I like Sanders' accuracy and decision-making more. I like Sanders' accuracy a little bit more. I do. He says, plus he is used to intense media and bad offensive line play. I don't know how Ward would play under a bad O-line throughout a full season. Listen, for me, Cam Ward is just so cool, calm, and collective behind the offensive line. I just think he'd be better behind a bad offensive line. But I respect that point, Red X. Devin Bonnick is in the building. Shout out Devin Bonnick. I think this is the first time I've seen Devin in the building. He says, first off, he gave us the $4.99 super chat. Big salute to him for doing that. Devin says, promote Brandon Brown to general manager, hire Vrabel, draft Cam Ward, sign Javarius Ward, and Trey Smith in free agency. That should help us out immediately. This would be a great plan of attack. If this is an option for the New York Giants, I will be all for this. The problem is I don't know about Cam Ward, if we're going to be able to draft him. Maybe a team ahead of us drafts Cam Ward, or maybe somebody trades with one of those teams ahead of us and jumps us to draft Cam Ward. Javarius Ward would be awesome. Trey Smith would be awesome. I still think he might go back to the Kansas City Chiefs. I see a lot of people talking about this narrative as of late. I do think it would help us immediately, but it's if those players are all going to be available is going to be the question mark for the New York Giants. But shout out to Devin or Devon. I'm not sure if I'm saying it right or wrong, but shout out to DB one time in the building representing for the Authentic and the Beard channel and supporting us over here on this little small corner of the internet. Salute to you, fam. Gregory's taking the under on this one. He agrees with the statement. He likes himself some Cam Ward. Cushmaster says, I'm still stoned. I feel you, man. I wish I was. I don't come up on Stream Smack. That's not my kind of vibe, but I'll be watching Stream Smack. So I feel you on that, Cush. I ain't seen Cushmaster in a minute, man. Salute to you. Appreciate you pulling up. Charles Hammer says Archie Manning in 26, if it's possible. Kareem Yee's taking a push on this one. Both are really good quarterbacks. Derek says, I was Shedeur, but now I'm leaning towards Cam. Sam says it's an overreaction. I think Ward has more upside, but is questionable with decision-making. Sanders is the safer option with the higher floor. I just think that Shedeur Sanders could come in the league and look like a really regular quarterback. Like, let me ask you this. This might ruffle some feathers. What's the difference between Shedeur Sanders and Mac Jones? I'll scroll down. We'll skip it. It seems like most of the people agree that Cam Ward is quarterback one right now. So we'll skip a lot of the responses that agree with it. I'll get this one. He says it's an overreaction. Mac, the Giants fan, says, for me, I think Shedeur has more upstairs, and I think his football IQ will translate better to the league. I respect it. Don't agree with it. But I want to jump all the way down, and then I'm going to get to that super chat. Let me get to that super chat real quick. Shout out to TJ Francis one time in the building with the $4.99 super chat. I like this thinking already, TJ. He said, too many holes to trade up. If a quarterback doesn't fall to us, stick and pick Mason Graham at 4. Build from inside out. Take a swing on Milroe or Dart in the second round. I got no beef with this take right here because trading up a lot of assets for a quarterback that we don't deem as a generational talent, that might get us into more difficult situations than actually getting the New York Giants off into the right situation, into the positive direction. So I really like this take as of today. When I do a little bit more digging on some of these prospects and especially outside the quarterback situation, I'll see if I feel the same way. But shout out to TJ Francis for supporting the channel and dropping some gems here. I really like this. There's just so many holes on this roster. Why would you trade up more draft capital to get a quarterback that might not fix all those problems? Are any of these quarterbacks a Jaden Daniels? I truly don't think so. Red X said, I just feel like Ward will not be the same after getting hit multiple times for 17 games and being grilled by the media. NY is a different beast, and I don't know how long will his calm demeanor stay. The whole NY is a different beast thing. I don't believe in that, Red X. Like, Daniel Jones was able to come here and be just fine with the media. And he played like shit for 6 years pretty much. And he was just fine with the media. Our media is not tough. Playing in New York does give you more of a spotlight. There's going to be more primetime games. There's going to be more national media. Even when your team is absolute garbage, you're still going to see the Colin Cowards and the people on the Get Up and the Ryan Clarks and all these people still talking about your team. But at the end of the day, I don't think that the media is that much different. The only thing that you could say that is different from the media from New York, in comparison to another team that's small market like Green Bay, is that they just don't talk about those teams that much. You're not going to see, Jordan Love press conference after a game make national media. You're just not going to see that. But at the end of the day, I think Cam Ward is cut out, to be the guy, to be the face of the franchise. There's a famous clip because him and Shedeur Sanders were trained by the same athletic company. And there's a famous clip of them finishing a workout, and Shedeur Sanders is like unlacing his cleats. And Cam Ward's like, all y'all know that workout was not a good workout. Y'all know that was a half-assed workout, and we need to get back out there on the field and do some more. And they were all like, nah, we're good for today, blah, 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 blah. You tripping. So I think that Cam Ward has a undeniable ethic and loves the game of football. And his coach even said that he's never coached a leader like that. So and that's not to like throw shade at Shedeur Sanders. I think he's an incredible leader as well. And I think that, being that he's prime son, he's perfectly groomed for the media, and he'll be able to handle all of this stuff. But here's the thing. Shedeur will be able to handle it, and Cam Ward, I think, would be able to handle it. But the fan base is what's going to be the problem, I think, with these guys. They're going to give them a shorter leash. I feel like as far as the general consensus of the New York market, that these two guys don't necessarily fit the mold of the character that they want at the quarterback position, which in return, I think is going to make some of these leashes a lot shorter. Shout out to Keith Wilson. We're still on the black quarterback situation here. Shout out to Keith Wilson for the $9.99 super chat. Keith says, on the black quarterback tip, it's bad optics. The Giants have conditioned fans to always ask, can they handle NY media when a player has personality? If you can ball, it shouldn't matter. Too many choir boys. That's spot on. Definitely too many choir boys. Get me some dogs, man. Look, I look at football not quite the same, but I look at football like any other unit of men that need to go out there and go handle a job. And I could compare it to the Army. When you get out there with the Army, I want somebody that's smart out there when they're in the trenches. I really don't mind what you do off the field as long as it's not detrimental to you or your community. I want dogs on this team. Some people look at Micah Parsons. He had character issues coming out the draft, and the Giants ended up trading back in that draft and drafting Kadarius Toney in 2021. And I'm sure a lot of that had to do with that whole thing that Keith is talking about here about too many choir boys. Like, go out there and get some dudes that can play football first and foremost, and that can stay out of trouble off the field, obviously. But I don't care about what their personality is or what they say in front of the media. I don't give a damn if they get in front of the media and say, fuck all y'all, fuck the fans, fuck everybody. I don't care about that. If they're going out there and they're playing good football, it's all good with me. Charles Barkley was notorious for doing that. Like, don't have your kids looking up to me as a role model. And I respect that. As an adult, I respect that. Now, for the kids, as a parent, you're going to have to keep your kids away from that kind of behavior and keep your kids away from being fans of players like that. But at the end of the day, that ain't got nothing to do with me. I just want to see my New York Giants win games. That's really what it is for me. So I agree with you on this, Keith. It's a good take here. Coach Hayward Bay is in the building. What's going on, Coach Hayward Bay? Coming in with the $5 super chat. He says, no Vrabel. just a boring and useless hire. We have his stale staff on sidelines now. I mean, this is a really good point. You know, like I wouldn't have like great beef if they hired Vrabel, but at the end of the day, we do have Shane Bowen over here on the sidelines already. We saw Vrabel's results when he was with the Tennessee Titans, how they couldn't get over the hump with Ryan Tannehill at the quarterback position, along with Marcus Mariota at the quarterback position. They were a team that was notorious for being a 9-win team throughout their, throughout the tenure of Vrabel being over there. I like Vrabel, but at the end of the day, he's not a head coach right now in the league for a reason. But I wouldn't have no beef with us hiring him. But what Coach Hayward Bay is talking about right here, this is a great point right here. So salute to you for supporting the channel and also bringing some noteworthy, commentary to the discussion. Now, I want to jump down here. Y'all just supporting your boy today. Y'all are just definitely supporting your boy today. Shout out to Peter Cho one time in the building. And big respect to this because me and Peter had a little disagreement earlier, but he understands that it's just a football disagreement. So big shout out to Peter Cho here for the $20 super chat. He says, I've been silently watching this channel for months, but I just finally subscribed. You keep it real, authentic, and I respect that. Much love. Bro, big respect to you for that. Like, this is why I like to be extremely transparent on this channel. You know, some people are going to get up on their YouTube channel or whatever content creation platform that they have, and they're going to try to feed to the fans. They're going to allow the fans to be able to influence what they say up there on their platform, right? And granted, I do that a little bit as well. Like, if somebody comes in with a great statement and I go, ooh, I didn't think about it like that, then they might influence me. But at the end of the day, I'm not up here to appease to fans and be a mascot for the New York Giants. That's not my job. My job is outside of what I do here on YouTube. My job is to mix records for a living. And my job is to pick up that camera and do what I do with that camera. And I enjoy talking ball with people that are like-minded and people that aren't like-minded, but that bring good points to the table. And I think Pete has done a good job of doing that throughout this chat. And I always say, bro, like real recognize real. It's a statement that has been gone around the hip-hop community for a long time. And I'm just an honest dude. And, they say that when you honest and you be who you are and you be your unapologetic self, that you're going to draw the people that you need closer to you and you're going to push the people that don't need to be around you farther away from you. And I think this is a perfect example of that, man. So big shout out to Pete, man. Welcome to the family, for one. I know you've been watching this channel from afar, but now that you are subscribed, shout out to Pete for rocking out with us today, man. Y'all throw some biceps in the chat. Represent for the homie Pete one time in the building, man. Salute to you, fam. Let me see. TJ Francis says the only difference between the two quarterbacks is their swag. They're both mid. I mean, I don't think that's too bad of a take. I'm high on Cam Ward, but Cam Ward has some flaws in his game for sure. Ben says that Cam may end up with the Browns. It's looking like that, bro. Shout out to Ben, too. Ben been rocking with us for a while. Mike Coleman says, I'm okay with getting Justin Fields or Sam Darnold and wait for Manning next year, but definitely got to get T. Higgins and drop Slayton. I don't want to get T. Higgins with a bridge quarterback, though. I don't like that plan. But I like Justin Fields. I like Sam Darnold. I think that the Minnesota Vikings, it depends on how they do in the playoffs, but they might want to retain Sam Darnold for another year and pull a Jordan Love vibe like the Green Bay Packers did, man. Like, the guy is balling out. Let me see. RedX3R0 says, did 8 years in the Army was a NCO when it felt like I was babysitting half the time. You have to be very direct and give them all the answers. Shout out RedX3R0 one time. Ron Mills says, us getting Manning in 2026 is a bunch of shit. We can't even tank right. I know that's right, because you're going to need a number one pick probably if you want to get Archie Manning. If you deem him as the quarterback that you think he's going to be, he's probably going to be a number one pick. Mr. B said, facts. Talking about Archie Manning is so annoying. I agree with that to an extent. And let's see what Stephen Bloom has to say about Archie Manning. Stephen Bloom says, Arch Manning may not come out next year. Nico I and Nussmeier. Nico's the guy from Tennessee. And Nussmeier have shown more than Arch as well, but get off Arch's nuts. Simeon said disagreeing is cool. Absolutely. Like, I try to make it a point here that just because we disagree on stuff does not in no fashion mean that we should not like each other. But all too often in not just football, but in a bunch of different walks of life, I can think about politics especially, people don't like each other simply because of the candidate that they like, which is crazy, batshit crazy for me. But That's why I just stay out of politics and I don't even talk about that stuff. But football has that stuff in it as well. But hey, disagreeing, a lot of people not going to like me straight up because they disagree with my opinions. They don't know who I am, haven't taken the time to even, linger around on some of these streams and get some of my true thoughts and whatnot, but they're not going to like me because I didn't like Daniel Jones as a football player and, little minuscule shit like that. Santa Claus says, McCorkle Jones isn't as hard of a worker. Coming in with a fat body looking like a busted can of biscuits, crying on the sidelines like a 5-year-old. The Sanders family equals hard workers. You can definitely tell that about the Sanders family. Shout out to my dog, Tommy Football, in the building. He says, that I know of. Neither Cam or Sanders have any character concerns. If people are worried about the color of someone's skin in 2024, that's just sad, to be honest. Both can ball. We'd be lucky to have either. It's unfortunate that is the instance in 2024. And you can just look around YouTube and look around Twitter and see all the racist comments that go around these social media platforms, that it does exist. And a lot of that has to do with parenting. Like some of these mothers and some of these fathers, they raise their kids a certain way, and their kids come out being, influenced by the way that their parents, came up and whatnot. And those traditions still live, and they're still alive and well till this day in America for sure. I can speak to it, especially in Washington, D.C., and I'm sure people can speak to it, especially in New York City. But it is what it is. And I think racism is a thing that's going to exist forever. I really do, at least for my time here on this earth, because people are just ignorant. And that's just what it is, man. And people, not only are they ignorant, I think it's just stupid at the same time, too, because even with the information, they will still double down on that racism. So it just is what it is. And we have to operate around it. And you have to have a good buffer and have a good gauge and be able to determine people's personalities and understand who somebody is by the experiences that you have with them. That's just what it is. Shit, I've had people, these dudes made a whole page about me on Twitter. It's called Not Authentic, if you ever want to check it out. And they're literally posting a bunch of shit about me saying authentic is racist in the reverse way, which is just even fucking crazier than racism in itself. That you would deem a black man racist in 2024 is just crazy shit, but we're not going to go there. Let me see. Coach Hayward Bay says, nobody likes a butt kisser. Keep it 100 at all times. And Lou Mateo said, welcome to the fan, Pete. And they gave you a bunch of biceps, my dog. Everybody gave you these biceps, man, showing you a lot of love. All right, let me scroll down, catch up. We got another super chat here coming in from Craven the Bunter. Shout out to the fam in the building one time with the $4.99 super chat. He says, nothing matters unless you have a quarterback. That's a fact right there. Winning made getting one in the draft cost more than it would have. Get ready for Jameis, Darnold, or Cousins. If I had to pick one of those names, it's going to be Sam Darnold. But I just want to get the rookie quarterback in the building, and definitely agree with you on a lot of this. Shout out to Craven the Bunter. I wonder where that name comes from. I'm not hip to that, but shout out to you, man, for supporting the channel, fam. Deedon says facts. Racism is taught. Yeah, it really is. I'd say for a lot of people that's taught, because you see in young kids, you don't see racism like that. Say Less says Cousins, no. It depends how much money. If I could get Kirk Cousins for that, which I know we couldn't, but if you could get him for that Ryan Fitzpatrick 1-2-year deal at around 12, 14 million, I'd consider it. I would. But I would still want to draft a quarterback as well. Red X says, if we can't get any top quarterback prospects, I'd rather have Jameis as a bridge, because at least it will be fun and chaotic. It would be fun. It definitely would be fun. And it definitely would be chaotic. Picho said Craven the Hunter, the latest Spider-Man spinoff bust. Oh, man, damn. I haven't watched the latest Spider-Man. I got to catch up. I definitely got to catch up. That's what's up. Craven also said that getting a quarterback that's very mid is the worst scenario. We'll win 6 games and stay mid, never getting close enough to drafting that quarterback. Yeah. You're seeing that kind of happening with the Indianapolis Colts right now. Anthony Richardson is not getting them over the hump, as far as availability. He's been hurt a lot, and even when he's on the field, he's not winning a lot of games. And he would have been better off with a bridge quarterback, it's almost like the Colts should have just started Joe Flacco at the beginning of the year and just continued to groom Anthony Richardson. But all too often, these franchises are just in a major rush. Shout out to Sam Conroy one time with the second super chat, man. Appreciate that, fam, with the $4.99 one. He says, Mac is awful. Don't disrespect Sanders like that. Mac was scared jumping back while throwing. Sanders is not. Mac also thoughts on May and the Patriots. Mac also thoughts on May and the Patriots. I'm not sure what the last sentence says. But, like, look, from a skill set standpoint, there's nothing from Shedeur Sanders for me that jumps off the page more than what Mac Jones does. Like, you look at Mac Jones when he was in college, he was a solid decision maker. But he was playing around way better talent than Shedeur Sanders. I'll say that is the difference. But when I look at them from a skill set standpoint, when you look at like not Desmond Ridder, Spencer Rattler, you know, from a skill set standpoint, does Shedeur Sanders do anything that much better than a Spencer Rattler? I just don't see it yet. But like I said, I got to do a little bit more research on him. But as of right now, from what I've seen from the games that I've watched from Shedeur Sanders this season and last season, which is probably about a good, I'd say somewhere between like 7 and 9 games, something like that. I'm not seeing it right now. I really am not. And I think he's a good quarterback. He could come in. I like him as a prospect, but the non-ability to run and evade pressure and buy time for the New York Giants, that bothers me. Coach Hayward Bay says, so we're going to go the Kerry Collins route with Cam, Shedeur, and Winston and Darnold. I'm cool with that. I am too, yeah. I would love that. And don't forget, like, the Kurt Warner, Eli situation and all that. Like, I love having a bridge quarterback there because now you have a true mentor in the locker room. There was somebody that brought this to my attention it was either on the Bleach Report stream or on Twitter recently. I think it was on Twitter from my homie, Stephen DeLome. He said, quarterback development is on the player himself. And it's a quote from Shanahan. And I thought it was a crazy quote, but like at the end of the day, I think that a coach will obviously help out with some of that stuff, but the off-season workouts, the mechanics, the lower body mechanics, getting the footwork right and all that stuff, a lot of that stuff is on the player. And I would love to have a bridge quarterback in here to help that player out, to help him, you know, skip some of those hurdles that the bridge quarterback had to go through, like a guy like Jameis Winston, you know, who dealt with everything he did on his rookie contract in Tampa Bay, throwing for 5,000 yards, the season where he had, I believe it was 30 and 30 as far as touchdowns and interceptions. So I would love to see that. I think it's important too. JDJ says, authentic Mr. Hanlon is on line 1 for you. Yo, shout out JDJ one time. Yeah, that's wild that Hanlon actually called Bobby Skinner from Talking Giants. And I was watching that stream when they did it, and Bobby was like, hold on one second. Picked up the phone and was like, you're not going to believe the call I just got. And I actually couldn't believe the call he just got. I can't believe that they're like trying to, you know, play buffer to the way that Giants content creators, you know, handle their business on YouTube or on any social media platform. They better not be on line 1 for authentic. I mean, we're going to hang up on that for sure. Because nobody's going to tell me how to cook up my content. Definitely not going to happen over here. Shout out Quota in the building one time, says another reason I like Cam Ward over Sanders that no one talks about is that Cam has had different coordinators, coaches, and teams and still continues to be better while Sanders hasn't had those changes. That's a good point right there too. Like Cam Ward in high school had no letters, no offers, none of that shit. 0-star recruit. His high school coach had him running the wing T. And then he, you know, went to Incarnate Ward and started definitely balling, and then went to Washington State and they started running more of a spread style offense, and Cam Ward definitely excelled. Love what he, you know, the productivity that he had this past season with Miami, and just knew he was going to have a good year. Love that for Miami. It was a great way to get their program, you know, back in the right track and whatnot. Let me see. Red X3R0 says, I wish there was a blue chip offensive line prospect this year if we don't get Ward or Sanders. Unfortunately, I don't think there is the same caliber as last year with Alt and the Penn State left tackle. Yeah, there were a couple of guys. I'm trying. Why can't I remember the Penn State dude's name? I can't remember his name. It's something with an F, though. I can't remember homie's name for some reason right now. But that's a fact. I mean, I would address offensive line. I wish they would have addressed Olu. That's who it was. Yep, Fashanu. I would have addressed offensive line in the trenches last season. I'm not sure why they didn't do that, but I think they were just looking at it like, you know, we can compete this season, and we'll try to, you know, make a run with Daniel Jones, and then we'll see. We'll try to pivot off that. next season, which is exactly what they did after 10 games. It's unfortunate. 21 super chats today, y'all. I got to send a thanks to y'all. I don't never do that. I'll never thank y'all for the super chats. But damn, 21 super chats is kind of crazy. Let me see if I missed any too. All right, we got the Mac joint, we got the Craven joint, the Pete Cho joint. Yeah, I think we're good. Those were the last like 4 or 5. TJ, yeah. Salute to y'all. I appreciate y'all supporting, especially in this dire situation that the New York Giants are in. We're at the 2-hour mark right now. Let's get one more Giant overreaction real quickly. We'll spend like 15 on this one, and then we'll get y'all up out of here. I think this one's going to be a really good one from a fellow content creator as well. So this one comes from former New York Giant, and I said fellow content creator now, Justin Pugh. He said, let's take it easy and see how next week unfolds for all the NFL teams before freaking out about the Giants going from 1 to 3 in the draft. One player does not fix a franchise overnight. Now, Justin Pugh, really good dude. I'm going to have him on the channel as long as he's willing to. I had the pleasure of being on my homie Big Doug's YouTube channel with Justin Pugh and chopped it up with Justin. And Justin is just a really down-to-earth, really cool dude. And, you know, Justin does like to look at things a little bit glass half full at times, but also can look at football with a really keen, critical eye as well. We had some really good conversation on that particular podcast. I recommend y'all go check it out. It's on Big Doug Sports here on YouTube. But when he's saying what he is saying here in this particular statement here, and I had to make sure it was on the screen. I forgot we had a vertical one here. You know, I think that he did tweet this out after the game, and I think he really hadn't had the time to assess the true situation here. Now, you have some games next week that are going to be on a line here that we're going to need teams to lose games for the New York Giants to climb back to that number 1 pick. And I really don't see these 3 teams ahead of us losing games next week or winning games. I'm sorry. I meant to say winning games. We're going to need these 3 teams ahead of us to win a game, and we're going to have to lose our game. Sorry about that. And next week, the Browns are playing the Ravens. And it's possible that the Ravens might rest their starters, but I don't foresee the Ravens blowing this game to the point where they're going to lose to the Browns. The Browns just got beat 20-3 by a Tua-less Miami Dolphins team. Dorian Thompson-Robinson is struggling at the quarterback position right now. He's had a pick in both starts, and a week ago, he had 0 net passing yards at the half. The Browns have lost 5 straight games. Then you got the Titans. The Titans are going to be playing the Texans next week. They just lost to the Jags with Mac Jones at the quarterback position. The Titans have lost 5 games straight. I don't foresee them beating the Houston Texans. I think that would be a bit of a miracle, even if the Texans do decide to rest some starters. I don't know the case as far as if the Texans are already in a situation where their playoff seed cannot be changed, so I don't know if they're going to rest starters. The Patriots are playing the Buffalo Bills. And yeah, Josh Allen is absolutely the majority of that team, but the Patriots have lost 6 straight games. Drake May is banged up. They've been terrible all year long. Every team that is in front of us right now, as far as draft stock goes, has at least a 5-game losing streak. The Giants play the Eagles, who may or may not rest their starters. I would hope that they don't, so that we can, go out there and lose this game. I think that's very important. But I think of all these teams, the Giants have the most likely chance to probably go out there and beat a Philadelphia Eagles team that's going to be probably down to their 3rd-string quarterback if they do not start Jalen Hurts. Now, as far as the part of this statement that talks about one player is not going to come in and change things overnight, I disagree with that. Now, I don't think that one player is going to come in and make the New York Giants a Super Bowl contender, but one player can absolutely change things overnight. One player, along with the head coach and maybe some other moves, like you saw with the Houston Texans or like you've seen with the Washington Commanders. Because Jaden Daniels, if it was not Jaden Daniels at the quarterback position for the Washington Commanders, they would not be in the position that they are in right now. Yesterday, this dude had 227 yards and 3 touchdowns. He added 127 yards on the ground. 354 total yards of offense from Jaden Daniels when the Washington Commanders only had 412 yards of offense. I say only. It was a lot of yards. But Jaden Daniels taking up all of those yards, literally all of those yards except 58 of the yards. Jaden Daniels was responsible. If you are familiar with what we do during the week here when we do our preview and our recap shows, we've been talking about Jaden Daniels for weeks upon weeks. And one of the points that I've continued to make is that Jaden Daniels is the kind of quarterback that when everything around him is going wrong, he still has a skill set that allows his team to be able to go out there and win the game. If they stop Terry McLaurin, Jaden Daniels can find guys like Zacchaeus and get them in the mix like he did last night. If they stop McLaurin and Zacchaeus and his tight end and the running game like they did last night, right? Like outside of Zacchaeus, right? They stopped Brian Robinson pretty much the entire night. Jaden Daniels can use his legs and find ways to win the game. Jaden Daniels, after Michael Penix drove down that field and tied that game up with 0 time left in regulation, his team won the coin toss. I don't know why the Falcons called heads. You never call heads in overtime. Tails never fails, and when it fails, we don't give a fuck, right? But Jaden Daniels drove his team down the field and didn't even give Michael Penix a chance to win the game. So one player doesn't necessarily make you a Super Bowl contender overnight, but you cannot have a culture without the quarterback. And let me repeat that. You cannot have a culture without having a quarterback. And you cannot have a culture without consistently winning. The quarterback is the guy that touches the ball the most. He's the most important player on the field. So if you can bring in and somehow find a franchise quarterback in the draft, you can absolutely change your franchise overnight. It's not to say that they're going to go from being a 3-13 team like they are right now to being a team that would be 13-4 at the end of the year. That's not to say that. But I do think that a quarterback can come in and change a whole lot of things. Literally, like leadership, the way that the defense looks at the offense. You got to look at the New York Giants, and when you have a guy like Daniel Jones at quarterback, or Drew Lock, or Tommy DeVito, or Tim Boyle, there's not much faith in your offense going out there and handling their side of the business so that you can go out there and handle your side of the business. Now, some people might look at this situation that we are in right now and losing this game and compare it to the Lovie Smith situation where he won the last game of the season for the Houston Texans, and they still ended up getting the number 2 overall selection, which ended up being C.J. Stroud, and they kind of lucked out. And I'll say for those people that are looking at the situation like that, I just got to disagree. I think the Giants are completely fucked right now. I think the closest pick that we're going to get to number 1 would possibly be number 3, but I think it's all going to end up where it's at right now. I think that all these teams that are in the top 4 right now are going to lose their game in Week 18 in the finale, and we're going to go into April picking number 4 in the 2025 NFL Draft. Y'all tell me what y'all thinking about this one. I think that I want to reread it to see if I'm going to take a push or if I'm going to really say that this is an overreaction. Let's take it easy. Let's see how next week unfolds. Before we freak out, I'm going to say it's an overreaction because I do think that Giants fans on Monday morning today, Monday afternoon right now, should absolutely be freaking out. Let me see how y'all feel about this one. I'll scroll back just a couple on this one and see where y'all are at with it. Oh, there's some good points. Y'all made some good points. JDJ said, authentic handling going to tell you what content to create, what messages you can put on your plane, what size Pepsi you can have. They want it all. I feel you, fam. I definitely feel you. Let me see. Sam says, we go against the Bills backups. We might win and drop, so you can definitely get the number 1 pick. And if you stay, I'd take a quarterback if Ward or Sanders are there. If not, Abdul Carter is a beast. Now, if y'all lose, that doesn't give us the number 1 pick. We need y'all to lose. We need the Browns to lose, and we need the Titans to lose. I don't see it happening, bro. Quota says he's taking the push one time. I agree we shouldn't freak out and we should wait, but one player can certainly turn your franchise around. LOL, that's why the quarterback position is so overvalued. It's not like that for no reason. Professionally certified hater says DTR stinks. I thought he had a decent skill set in his rookie year. He's looked terrible as of late. Berg says he's taking the push. Look at how Jaden changed Washington. He did, along with a clean house, definitely helped the situation. Deedon is taking the under on this one. I honestly don't think Ward and Sanders are franchise-changing quarterbacks. Now, that's a whole different response to a different question, to be honest. But I see where you're going with it because you don't think that these two guys are franchise quarterbacks, then really everything that Justin Pugh said in this doesn't really matter. Chris Peace is taking the push. Yes, there is a lot of holes, but not having a quarterback is a perfect way to go 2-15 next year and getting everyone fired. RedX3R0 says it's an overreaction. He said Burrow, Manning, Allen, etc. turn their franchise around. Quarterback is the most important position, and an elite quarterback enriches everyone. I love that word. Justin Pugh has never experienced that and is speaking from his point of view. Damn. So Justin Pugh was on. Now I got to look at Justin Pugh's his teams and his tenure to see which part of the team he was involved in. And this will be real quick. Yeah, because Justin Pugh was drafted in 2013 by the New York Giants. So he definitely missed the wave of New York. And then the only other team he's played for is the Arizona Cardinals. And he played for the Cardinals from 2018 to 2022. I'm trying to think who the franchise quarterback was for the 2018. Oh, man, it was Josh Rosen. Yeah, Red X, spot on. Spot on, my dog. That's why I love rapping with y'all on a good old Monday. Let me see. Man Ray says he's taking the under. If you hit on a franchise quarterback, it does change and fix a franchise overnight. Do you think the Commanders have a great roster? No, but they got the guy to elevate them. That's a fact. Tommy Football just said Mahomes, LOL. Mac, the Giants fan, said overreaction. I do agree one player doesn't necessarily fix a franchise, but the right player gives a franchise hope that a change is truly coming. Agree with that. Let me see. Sam says that Drake May is way better than Daniels. I think that's a shitty take. You could say better, and I'll be like, all right, yeah, there's probably some points you could argue that could win that argument. I'd still say Jaden Daniels is better, but to say that he's way better, I don't know about that, bro. That's kind of crazy. Stephen Bloom says, definitely disagree. One player can definitely change the outlook of a franchise, especially the quarterback position. Let me see. Coach Hayward Pace said, Sam, are you high? Oh, no, he didn't say, are you high? He said, Sam, you are high. Shout out to Hayward Bay. Shout out to Sam in the building one time, man. Francis Moran says, it's a word game, franchise or team. The Giants front office cannot be fixed overnight. One excellent quarterback can change a team. I like that right there. Lou Mateo says one player maybe won't bring the sunshine, but if that player is special, it'll stop raining at least. I like the comparison right there. I like that. Red X says, I didn't want to say Mahomes because Alex Smith was doing well before him. True that. You know, this will support that point, though, Red X. Alex Smith was doing well before that, but the Chiefs changed over more than half of their starters that year that Patrick Mahomes ended up becoming the starter in 2018. Tommy said, nah, always call heads. Well, it didn't work yesterday. I don't never call heads. Nope. Let me see. Quota says, also, our offensive line looked like our Super Bowl offensive line. What was that? LOL. Played out of their minds. Yeah, Drew Lock was not sacked one time on the day. Deaton Shelton says, Jaden Daniels is the only example of that. Bryce Young, Justin Fields, Trey Lance, Mac Jones, Zach Wilson. You think Jaden Daniels is the only example of a quarterback coming in and changing a franchise? What about Joe Burrow? What about Josh Allen? What about C.J. Stroud? Do you remember where the Texans were with, I can't even remember that joker's name that was the quarterback over there with the long neck. Davis Mills. Do you remember where the franchise were? Do you remember where the Texans were where they had him as their quarterback? And then literally they went out there and got C.J. Stroud, and overnight they were pretty much a playoff team. There are multiple instances of bringing in a franchise quarterback and having it change the fate. Think of 2012 with the Commanders and RG3. Look, when RG3 was healthy and came in there, he literally won the division for them and then took them to the playoffs. There are plenty of examples. Yeah, there are plenty of examples of quarterbacks who bust as well. I almost want to bring up this graphic. Let's stay on this real quick. Let's stay on this. See if I can find this graphic real quick. I hope I can find it. I used to have this graphic that had them all. Oh, man. Come on, Max Search. You can do it. You can do it. Yeah, here it goes. Here it goes. Here it goes. Here it goes. I thought this stream was going to be short, y'all, but, you know, I say that almost every time, and that's never the case. Let me upload a graphic real quick because I do want y'all to see it while we look at it, while we're talking about these first-round quarterbacks and whatnot. Let me just give me a second here to upload this graphic. I've been learning. I watched this streamer in the music producer community, and he does like music producer news, and the like pace and patience that he has on a stream is very interesting. Like he's willing to allow a lot of dead time on air, which I particularly don't like doing. But and he'll do that to like upload graphics and all that stuff. So I've been learning to have just a little bit more patience while I'm up here on the stream and whatnot. But I think that this will be a really good exercise to look at this graphic real quick. Take a look at this, and it's going to have some people missing, I believe, from the last draft. But this is every quarterback drafted in the first round. And let's just do a little bit of an exercise here and just kind of go through these and see if any of these guys were franchise-altering quarterbacks outside of Joe Burrow and C.J. Stroud and Josh Allen. So check this graphic out. I want to get the comment off the screen real quick. And we'll go here. This is every first-round quarterback right here. And it starts from the right. Cam Newton is absolutely a franchise-altering quarterback. Let's start right there. Andrew Luck. Do you guys remember Andrew Luck when before the Colts had drafted Andrew Luck, how bad they were? They were a 4-win team. Andrew Luck came in there. They won 11 games 3 years straight. E.J. Manuel was drafted at 16. We're not going to do that. 2014 does not have one franchise-altering guy. Neither does 2015. I'm thinking about Marcus Mariota when he came into the situation. Who was the quarterback that was there before him? I can't remember who the Titans quarterback was before him. Jared Goff, I'd say, may have not altered the franchise, but the franchise started to change when they drafted Jared Goff. The following year, they started to win games. Carson Wentz, got to look at how Philly was during the years before that, but Carson Wentz was definitely a franchise-altering quarterback before he got hurt, took them to the playoffs, and then they won a Super Bowl the following season. Patrick Mahomes, absolutely. Deshaun Watson and the Houston Texans, absolutely. Baker Mayfield, I think, is a franchise-altering quarterback. The Cleveland Browns were absolutely trash before they drafted him, and then they got pretty decent, and they just didn't want to commit to Baker Mayfield anymore when they saw that alley-oop to go out there and get Deshaun Watson, which ended up being a terrible play for them. And then you got Josh Allen. Lamar Jackson, absolutely franchise-altering. Although they were coming off a Super Bowl from a couple of years before with Joe Flacco, Lamar Jackson altered that franchise. 2019, I'll say none of those guys. 2020, you got Joe Burrow. Justin Herbert, it's tough with him. I don't think he's franchise-altering, but he got them in the right direction. Jordan Love, oh my God, saved the Green Bay Packers. It didn't happen right away. The rest of these guys, I'll say, are not franchise-altering. Yeah, no Trey Lance, no Zach, no Trevor, no Justin. Damn, could you? I kind of want to ask y'all this too and see how y'all feel about this. But is there a possibility that you could say that Trevor Lawrence altered the Jacksonville Jaguars? I mean, he did take them to the playoffs. It took them a year. They were absolutely terrible. I'll say no. We'll stick there. So, I mean, yeah, there are a bunch of franchise-altering quarterbacks. You can see that from that graphic. And I always like to pull that graphic up, every couple of years to just kind of refresh that, because you do have a decent hit rate if you draft a quarterback in the first round of being able to go out there and get a guy that's going to change the trajectory of your franchise. I think that Eli Manning was that for the New York Giants. I know maybe the dividends weren't paid early on, but ultimately that guy won 2 Super Bowls, and I think that absolutely altered our franchise for sure. Brand73 says that Trevor Lawrence has been a major disappointment to me, and it has been over, I'll say this, his first and his last year are disappointments. But even when you look at him this year, right, and I'm going to pull up his numbers here because I know his numbers were they were like average numbers, even though the way that the Jaguars were playing pretty terrible this year. He threw for 2,000 yards, 11 touchdowns, and 7 interceptions in about 10 games. Now, before that, if you look at 2023 and 2022, Trevor Lawrence was just one of, I believe, 4 quarterbacks that threw for 4,000 yards and threw for over 20 touchdowns in back-to-back seasons. He had 21 touchdowns, 14 picks in 2023, dealt with an injury in that year as well. And in 2022, when they got the playoff victory against Justin Herbert and the Chargers, he had 25 touchdowns and 8 interceptions. He had 4,113 yards. I do agree with you, though, that he has been a bit of a disappointment because this was a guy that was touted as a generational talent, and I don't think he has proven to be a generational talent. Let me see. Coach Hayward Bay says that, damn, that list is trash. LOL. Now I'm scared. Thanks, Authentic. I don't think the list is trash, to be honest. But there are lulls there, of franchise quarterbacks. Like, definitely some years where you go, damn, like they didn't have the year with EJ Manuel in 2013, like not even another guy drafted. The year with Zach Wilson, it's just a poor class. Honestly, I think that Justin Fields can be a guy that can succeed in this league. I still think that. But in every one of those drafts, I mean, there are some that are just like, there's always a guy at least that is a decent guy that can come in and win some games. And then you look at the Patrick Mahomes, Deshaun Watson draft, like it's almost like overstacked with talent. So some drafts are better than others, and then you include the draft from last year as well, where you had 6 first rounders, and all those guys look to be pretty decent options right now. I would say that Bo Nix came in and changed the trajectory of that franchise. Sean Payton obviously helping out a little bit as well. You look at Drake May hasn't quite done it yet. Caleb Williams hasn't quite done it yet, but Jaden Daniels absolutely did it. And the verdict is still not out on Michael Penix and JJ McCarthy. But those guys, they all look like really good quarterbacks. And listen, you're gonna miss all the shots you don't take. You got to go out there and you got to swing. I think that's what's most important, that the Giants have not been swinging at the quarterback position. And the last time that they actually swung, like literally, traded up to get a guy in Eli Manning, it really worked out for us. So I think you got to find a way to swing at these quarterbacks and you can't consistently get into this bridge quarterback realm or where we were at, which was paying the wrong guys. You really can't do that. But shout out to whoever that was that brought up, that particular topic, because I thought that'd be a good exercise to just go and look at the entire list. And if any of y'all ever need that list, it's on my Twitter. You can just search authentic first-round quarterbacks. Maybe I'll repost it today so it'll be a little bit more towards the top of my timeline. Let me see. Red X says, now, I do believe we are as bad as the Browns currently. We are both the laughing stock of the NFL. Yeah, man, we are. We are as bad. And the Browns are, both teams, both franchises are in a situation where the average fan does not have the plan in mind of how to rebuild those teams because they've spent so much capital and so much money on digging themselves a deeper hole into the dirt that it's like, where do you go from here? Like, what do you do with a Dexter Lawrence contract? What do you do with an Andrew Thomas contract? What do you do with a Brian Burns contract? Brian Burns has played pretty good to end the season as well. I got to give him his props on that. But do you keep these guys on the roster and try to quickly patch this thing up, get a franchise quarterback in here? I mean, a lot of people are thinking Sam Darnold. If you see it with the Minnesota Vikings, you brought Sam Darnold in, and he is a capable quarterback that can win games. I don't think they're going to be as willing to part ways with a guy like that. I really don't think they will. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Danny Thomas coming in with the super chat here with the $2 super chat. He says, at this point, trade down and sign Fields. I think that is a good option. And then possibly, experiment with what other quarterbacks are going to be there in the later rounds. But you don't trade out until you find that the 2 top quarterbacks are off the board when you're going to be picking at number 4. You wait there and you see how the first 3 picks pan out. And if the 2 quarterbacks are off the board, I do agree with Danny on this one. You got to opt out and trade down and possibly sign a guy like Justin Fields. I'm curious as to how much it's going to cost to sign Justin Fields. And Justin Fields was my plan 2 years ago. I really wanted us to trade for Justin Fields, bring him in. He had still had 2 years left on the rookie contract. I thought it would have been the perfect, ideal situation underneath Brian Dable, a guy that can obviously run an offense with the running quarterback. He did that with Daniel Jones in 2022 and had a lot of success. I would have just kept Saquon Barkley around, though. I wouldn't have parted ways with him. And I think that that's been a big part in why our quarterbacks have regressed this season, is because the running game possesses no true dynamic threat. We're just a straightforward running team. Pal 11 says, I believe in Bo Nix, but sometimes having that great head coach really helps. Like Mahomes, he is very good, but having Andy Reid greatly made him to what he is now. I agree. Yeah, a great coach like that, a great scheme, the game plans, the philosophy, all of that stuff is very important. Quota says, I'd trade 2 firsts and 2 thirds for Cam Ward. You saying this really makes me really consider and think about it. Would I do it? And are we talking? We're probably talking 2 additional first rounds, right? And swapping the first is probably what I'd imagine. I think that would be too much. If we swapped the first and added next year's first, I'd consider it. I would consider it. I don't know if I would do it though. Pal says, I think same contract as Sam Darnold this season. Um, I, I forget. I kind of forgot who you were talking about or who this is in reference to. Justin Fields, probably 10 million. That's probably what you're saying. Yeah, yeah. 10 million wouldn't be bad for him. Coach Hayward Bay says trade Dex and Thomas. It might have to happen. So for anybody that's interested in this topic, there's a video on our channel. Just search "Learn Me Tunsil" on our channel. I did a whole breakdown about how the Miami Dolphins got like 6 first-round picks for Laremy Tunsil. They traded 2 to the Houston Texans. Then they used one of those to trade to the San Francisco 49ers for 3 more additional ones. And they did some more trades with the Denver Broncos. They brought in Bradley Chubb. They did a lot of stuff with those 2 picks. If you're interested in how the Miami Dolphins were able to do that rebuild, which got them Tyreek Hill and gave them capital for that, and also got them their franchise quarterback and Jalen Waddle, you could take a look at that video on our channel. Just search "Learn Me Tunsil." It'll come up for you. But I do agree with Coach Hayward Bay here. It might have to happen. It really might have to happen. And let me see here. Red X says, we need to get rid of all of our scouts because we can't seem to get quality draft picks. It's crazy how Dave is better at the draft than Joe. Yeah, because Dave Gettleman was not good. Dave Gettleman drafted about 33 players, and like 8 of them were decent players for us, contributors. And some of them still on the squad. But Joe Shane has just been so bad, it makes Dave Gettleman look like he was decent at his job. It's bad. Sam says, I'll take Dexter Thomas and a third for our pick. Chill, dog. Chill. Why you trolling us like that, bro? Brand73 says, what about Drew Aller from Penn State? He could be a good pro. I want to say he just said he's going back to school, so he's not going to be coming out in the 2025 draft. He'll be next year. I like him, though. Big kid, nice skill set. Yeah, big arm. I like, to me, Drew Aller looks a little bit, and I'm not saying like he's as good. Don't get it twisted. But the way he plays, his skill set, and I don't say this about a lot of quarterbacks, but he looks like Dan Marino a little bit. Like the way that the ball kind of come out, the big upper body, wears the bigger shoulder pads and whatnot. He just kind of looked like Dan Marino to me a little bit. But yeah, like K4M is saying, he's not coming out till 2026. Quota said, authentic, I just never understand fans' takes on why not to take a quarterback because they may not check all the boxes. Like there isn't 31 other teams wanting the same guy. Yeah, I don't get it either. And then the organization following suit and not drafting quarterbacks has been weird. Like, I want to say through the entire Daniel Jones tenure, the Giants never drafted a quarterback during any of that. They drafted Davis Webb a few years before that, and they drafted it was another dude that was kind of like had a Davis Webb type of name. Can't remember dude's name, but he had got caught like speeding on his way to practice or something like that. I forget the homie's name. James said this team. He said this team is more frustrating than a fully closed strip club. And I've been to one too, man. When we went to Kentucky for one of my homies' bachelor parties before he got married, we did a tour around all the whiskey distilleries. And then last minute they wanted to go to a strip club. And we went to a strip club, and like in Kentucky, yeah, all the strip clubs there, they're not fully clothed, but they're like, they look like a rap video with like Lil' Kim or something like that. It was interesting. It was interesting. And Kyle Laletta, that's the other guy. That's the other guy right there. Yeah, that's the guy. Yeah, it's been tough sledding for the New York Giants as far as the quarterback position goes. And I hate that one game has destroyed our confidence in getting our franchise quarterback, that quickly. It's very tough for us, but we got to deal with it. That's just what it is. And, we'll see how this last game goes. I'll be on Bleacher Report next week doing the recap of the final New York Giants 2024 game. That'll be against the Philadelphia Eagles. And then we'll come back here and we'll do another Giant overreaction. And I'm sure that after that, I'm going to take a little bit of a break, not a long break. It'll probably be a week at this point because I'm entering the year. I'm going to be doing content for Bleacher Report during the draft process and all that. breaking down some of these prospects and whatnot. And yeah, we'll just have to just kind of, be a little bit reactive rather than proactive here. I was hoping to be proactive and hoping that the Giants locked in the number 1 pick, but that's not going to be the case. So we just got to hang tight. I can guarantee y'all this: the offseason is going to be a lot of fun. And we're definitely going to keep content pumping throughout the entire offseason here, definitely doing these Giant overreactions and, doing a bunch of prospect breakdowns. I'm going to start with a video that's going to compare Shedeur Sanders to Cam Ward and breaking down the things that I think support Cam Ward being the more franchise-ready quarterback right now, at least. Sam Conroy says, how often do you go live? So we go live 4 days a week over here on this YouTube channel. So I'll give you a breakdown of the schedule here real quick. On Mondays, we do the Giant Overreaction, which is this vibe. We do, all the social media stuff and see if people agree with it and whatnot. That's every Monday at 1 p.m. And then on Tuesdays, we do our recap of the NFC East of the previous week. So we break down all the games. That one, we go live at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Tuesdays. On Thursdays, we do our preview show for the NFC East. That one is at 7 p.m. right before Thursday night games. And then on Sunday, we do a fantasy show, which this week is going to be our last fantasy football show. It's called The Parlay. I'm also one of the main content creators for Bleacher Report for the New York Giants. It's pretty much me and Bobby Skinner as of late that have been doing most of the content over there on Bleacher Report. And I've been doing about 2 days a week throughout the season, but I will have a new schedule going into the year. We'll be doing, I want to say it's Mondays, Wednesdays, and Sundays on Bleacher Report every week. So if you're interested in the schedule, definitely pop in. I know you're not a Giants fan, but he says, I like talking to you about football. Salute, man. Appreciate it, man. It was good having you here in the building today too, Sam. But yeah, that's the schedule. So if you enjoy the vibes, definitely pull up, rock out with us, man. And I'm working on a short series of documentaries that'll be about, it's looking like right now every episode is going to be about 15 minutes. And I'm trying to do 4 episodes, but the narrative has just changed so much. It's really my first sports documentary, so I'm trying to make it as good as I could possibly make it and not just rush it and, get it right and get it done. I still got a slew of people I still need to interview for this too, but keep your eyes peeled for that as well. Yeah, and we're going to continue to just do content. I've definitely, going into the year, have reconsidered a few things about how we're going to be doing content on this channel. So I would expect a bit of not a drastic change, but just a bit of a change in 2025, just a little bit of, because we didn't have a chance to do much pre-recorded content this year because we're live so much, and it takes a lot. Like, we don't just come up here and just wing it. We put in the time, we do the research, and do our due diligence on all the teams. It's why me and the Beard are so well versed on all the teams in the NFC East, is because we definitely put our foot into the research. But I do think I want to kind of expand the channel a little bit more here going into 2025 and kind of, separating ourselves again, because when we first came in 2019, we definitely separated ourselves. Our channel had a threshold of quality that not many channels, period, had, and definitely no channels in the New York Giants community had. And now I feel like technology is kind of catching up. The formats are becoming a little bit more similar. So I want to do something that's going to separate what we do over here from everybody else. I don't necessarily look at myself as a content creator. I know a lot of people label themselves a content creator, and they've labeled me that as well, but I don't necessarily look at myself as a content creator. I'm more of an artist. And I just like to create, right? But it's not necessarily from the talking head perspective that a lot of people create from. And I think like going live so much has kind of gotten me away from those true, goals that I've set for myself, coming into the year. So 2025, we're definitely going to kind of just revamp a little bit. And, when you see the way that we end the show, Sam, you'll see, like, we have a saying that we say over here, that the way that we end every show, and stick around for it. We're about to end this one. But I got to take my own advice on that as well. And I will continue to do that in 2025 as well. But salute to Sam, man, for pulling up. And anybody that's new that rocked out with us today, hit the subscribe button. We do a lot over here, man. We've been doing the compilations of the quarterbacks. I'm about to upload 2 more. Actually, I already uploaded them. I did them in the background. The Jaden Daniels compilation of all his throws from last night is up on the channel. The Michael Penix compilation of all his throws and runs are up on the channel as well. We did the Shedeur Sanders compilation as well, all from his bowl game. We did the Pop-Tarts Bowl for Cam Ward. We did all the throws from that game. We've done some Jackson Dart stuff. We've done a bunch of other quarterbacks. We did some Carson Beck stuff earlier in the year, and we're going to continue in the offseason to do more stuff like that. So definitely check out those vibes. For those of y'all that didn't get a chance to stay up late and watch, Jaden Daniels put on an absolute show last night. I recommend you go check out that compilation. It's about a 6-7 minute video of all of his throws from the night. I'll be trying to trim off all the fat, from the clips, so you don't gotta, it's a very easy watch. So definitely go check that out. Red X3R0, I see. I didn't even know you was a photographer, bro. He says, as a photographer, I understand. Do videos as well for weddings. And someone said I was a content creator. Felt incensed and correct them that I am an artist. Yeah, and I think that that's the balance that a lot of us have been, fighting as true artists, because I come from music, right? Like everything I ever done in my entire life that led to this point of being on YouTube in 2019 was all as an artist, as a producer and as an artist on the mic. And I did enough, I felt like, in that niche, right? Where I felt like it was time to kind of pivot and try to figure out some more things. Like music is always with me, as you can see in the background. This is my personal recording studio, and I'm always cooking up. But I always want to bring like an individuality to what I do as a content creator. And I don't just feed into like I see a lot of these people that are content creators, right? And there's like a whole theme for it. Like you go on YouTube, even down to the way that they talk on video, to the way that they script their video and the way that they speak to the camera. There's a certain thing that I don't like about it. Down to the thumbnails where you see these people like, it's like they're like pointing and they're like making like some excited ass face to try to like draw people in. But that's not my goal. My goal is not just about drawing people in. I just want people to see the art. Obviously, I want the most eyes on what we do. But at the end of the day, we're not in it for likes. We're in it for life. So that's what it is. And I think I'll be like that until, I'm long and gone. I think I will always be a artist at heart, and that does other things that are in different niches and different realms and whatnot. One of my homies, my Sandbox homies, told me, he's like, when I be telling people about you, I don't even know how to like label what you do. He's like, I always just tell them that authentic is an authentic connector of real shit. Like if you need to be connected to some real shit, then authentic can get you there. And that's some of the stuff that I've been doing, especially in the music industry, man. Like just playing my role and just trying to be a crutch in the communities that I am involved in. But definitely keep your eyes closed for a pivot. And it's good to know that you're a photographer, Red X. What I want to know what camera you shooting with. What's your camera and what's your main lens, Red X, before I get you up out of here? And Red X said, there's purpose to every shot I took and directions to every edit I do. I don't just point and shoot. Yeah, me either, bro. I'm kind of pivoting out of Adobe Lightroom and all Adobe, just the whole suite. I'm pivoting out of that. So I've been doing a lot more of my editing in Capture One. All my video editing, you can see it back there. The background is the logo for DaVinci Resolve. I've been doing all my video editing in DaVinci Resolve. All the videos you see on this channel are from DaVinci Resolve. And I've been kind of pivoting in that realm too. So I've always been enamored with photography, videography, media, all that stuff. And I see Red X said he got a Sony A1. Whew. And he said, I love the 50mm 1.2. I had the 50mm 1.2 Canon L series lens for a while, and it was my bread and butter. I loved it for portraits. It was one of my favorite lenses. Oh, I'm jealous. I'm jealous, bro. I'm jealous. All right, we got to sign off. Too much nerd talk. I'm jealous now. Hey, bro, like, look, I'm so jealous that you shoot with an FX3. Right now, I'm shooting with a Canon R8, and I shoot log and most of my shit raw and whatnot. But that FX3, man, I one of my homies that shoots at Maryland University does a lot of content, sports content with me. He was showing me the difference between the FX3 and the best Canon cameras and just the motion blur, man. Like a lot of people think just because we're shooting at, 180-degree shutter that we should have that natural motion blur, like kind of like, I guess, what you're seeing right now. But like when I saw the FX3's performance, my God, man, yeah, that's my next buy, bro. And I was a Canon boy, all L series shit, had the 85, the 50, 1.2s. I had the 24-70 f4 lens as well. And I was all Canon boy for a while. And then I went to Sony for a quick second. I shot on the A6300, then the 6500, then the A7 III for a second. And then I went back to Canon when they released all these mirrorless cameras. I was like, damn, I still got all these Canon lenses. Let me go back to Canon. And now with that FX3, man, I'm ultimately going to go back. But, Yo, Red X, I'm glad to know you a shooter, bro. I'm glad to know that you're a shooter. We could absolutely nerd talk for hours, bro. And look, everybody's enjoying everybody's enjoying all the nerd camera talk, man. But yeah, like lately, I've been just shooting with my R8. It's over here on my desk, and my favorite lens is the 100 millimeter 2.8 macro, man. That lens just it just pops people off the background. I love that lens. And I see you talking about the colors too. Yeah, the color science in Canon is really good. Red X says, but I like Sony's different lens options. In the Army, we used Canon glass. Yeah, man. That's what's up, man. That's what I'm talking about, man. It's good to know you a shooter, bro. And shout out to all y'all enjoying the nerd talk. I see the numbers kind of dip down a little bit, but it is what it is, man. But I'll get y'all up out of here, man. Y'all know we do these giant overreactions every Monday, and I always tell y'all they're going to be short, and they're never short. I thought this one was going to be about 1 hour and 30. Here we are pushing that 3-hour mark, man. But it is what it is, you know what I'm saying? And when you get good conversation, there's no reason to kind of nip it in the bud and end those conversations. But shout out to everybody who was involved in today's stream. Shout out to everybody who donated and sent in a super chat. That definitely means a lot. You know, me and the Beard have been able to use some of these super chats to pay a bill here and there. The Beard was talking about it when we cashed out our YouTube the other day. Like, yeah, I'm about to go pay a bill right now with that money. So salute to y'all for helping us in our endeavors, man. And it definitely means a lot. Y'all know that we don't ever come up here and ask nobody for no super chats, no money, no none of that. Y'all could literally just show up and show out here without doing that, and it would still be the same exact community. But that y'all go above and beyond to support what we do, that definitely means a lot to us over here. Tomorrow we'll be here, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We'll talk about this Giants victory again, and we'll be talking about the Commanders' victory, obviously, and the Philadelphia Eagles, who beat the Dallas Cowboys within the division. Big win for them. So make sure y'all pull up for that, man. And if you've been here since the beginning, all the way from when I said fire Joe Shane to all the way to talking about all this awesome camera equipment with Red X in the building one time, definitely throw a bicep in the chat, man. Salute to y'all. I definitely appreciate all y'all rocking out with me on this Monday afternoon, talking some New York Giants football. And for Sam, this is the statement that I was talking about where I need to take my own advice. So we end every podcast the exact same way here on Authentic in the Beard. Keep raising that bar. Keep living those dreams, because the universe flows in Technicolor and surround sound. And a life without dreams is a life in black and white. And that's a statement from Combat Jack. Rest in peace to the podcast GOAT, Combat Jack himself. And that's a wrap, y'all. Appreciate y'all. All of the conversations we had today, from first-round quarterbacks to who's the better prospect coming out as far as the 2 quarterbacks coming out this year, to the Justin Pugh statements about people, you know, not overreacting. All of it, y'all. I appreciate all y'all for being involved in these conversations. It's a bit of therapy for me as well to be able to come up here and kind of vent out some frustrations, or at least talk about what's going on with the New York Giants. And shout out to all the new subscribers. I think it was the homie. I want to go back and actually make sure I got this name right, because I thought that conversation we had was a really good conversation. The homie Pete Cho, who said that he had been silently watching this channel for months, but he just finally subscribed. You keep it real, authentic, and I respect that. Much love. That conversation that we had, that's what it's all about, man, is having different opinions, but still being able to see eye to eye and understand that this team just needs to get in the proper direction so that we as fans can all ultimately rejoice and see them win another championship. Like, that's what I'm waiting on. And when it comes playoffs time here for the Beard and the Commanders, I know a lot of people don't like to root for teams within the NFC East that are our rivals, but that's my brother. So for him, I'm going to be rooting for them Washington Commanders to go out there and win that damn Super Bowl, because I want to be able to win a Super Bowl while we cover this team throughout the entire year, and then be able to finish off a season with a Super Bowl. Bro, I might bow out, bro. I straight up might bow out. But that's what it is, man. Salute to y'all. Appreciate y'all for your time, man. I see all y'all in the building. There were so many people in the building today, man. And that's after a mental loss by the New York Giants. A victory Monday. I guess we got to enjoy it. I'm going to be rocking the gear when I make some runs out here and make some errands. It is what it is, though, man. But salute to all y'all again, man. I appreciate y'all, man. Y'all know what it is. I'll catch y'all on the next stream. Make sure y'all pull up tomorrow. Same place, different time. We'll be here at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time going over these games. Again, man, salute to all of y'all. Y'all enjoy the rest of y'all Monday afternoon. Peace.
Spike don't care.